A devastating moment early in his journey, as a shinobi made Naruto reflect deeply on the path he'd walked so far. With newfound determination and a solemn vow etched into his heart, he would come to terms with the darkness within, setting him on a new course, one that could shape him into something truly extraordinary. Naruto stormed into a clearing deep within the forests of the Land of Waves, fury blazing in his eyes. His squad had been dispatched on what was supposed to be a routine C-rank escort mission. Their objective: protect a frequently intoxicated bridge builder named Tazuna. The job should have been straightforward: keep some petty thugs at bay while escorting their client. But as they soon found out, the mission briefing was far from honest. Only a few hours into the journey, Team 7 was ambushed by a pair of rogue ninja, the Demon Brothers, both with skills rivaling chunin. Naruto froze when the ambush began, especially when it appeared that their mentor, Kakashi, had been torn apart in front of them. Though he snapped out of it eventually, the guilt gnawed at him. In the aftermath, it was revealed that Kakashi had only faked his death using a body replacement technique and a subtle illusion to gauge his team's reactions and assess the threat level. It turned out the real target was their client, not Team 7 themselves. Which of course made sense. No one would come after a fresh team of academy graduates, especially not with Kakashi, the infamous Sharingan user, watching over them. According to Tazuna, a wealthy shipping magnate named Gato held the Land of Waves in a stranglehold, controlling commerce, trade, and enforcing his rule with gangs and mercenaries. The bridge Tazuna was building represented hope for the land, an opportunity to reconnect with the mainland and escape Gato's tyranny. That made him a marked man. Despite the lies and increased danger, Team 7 ultimately chose to see the mission through, guilt-tripped into helping by Tazuna's desperate pleas. They realized just how high the stakes were when they encountered Momoichi Zabuza, the infamous demon of the hidden mist, and a former member of the 7 ninja swordsmen. A lethal opponent, far above their pay grade. Kakashi managed to fend him off with assistance from Naruto and Sasuke, but as he prepared to end it, a hunter nin from the mist intervened and seemingly finished Zabuza off. Afterward, Kakashi collapsed from chakra exhaustion, and the team sought refuge at Tazuna's home. There, they met his kind-hearted daughter, Tsunami. Unfortunately, Kakashi later revealed the grim truth. Zabuza had likely survived, as the supposed hunter nin's actions were far too suspicious. Determined to prepare, Kakashi began training his team in chakra control the next day, teaching them how to walk up trees using chakra alone. It was after one of these grueling sessions that an incident occurred. Inari, Tazuna's grandson, lashed out at them. He called the Leaf Nin fools for trying so hard and claimed they didn't understand real suffering. Naruto almost exploded then and there. His usual impulse would be to yell, maybe even get physical, but this time the boy's words hit deeper. They stirred something within him, memories, pain, anger he had long buried. With a glare that made the boy shrink back, Naruto quietly excused himself and stormed into the woods, where he now vented his rage through a frenzy of destruction using his shadow clones. How dare that little punk? He has people who care about him. He's got no clue what real pain is. Naruto thought bitterly as he slammed his fist into a tree, splinters flying. For over an hour he tore through the forest, driven by fury until finally, exhaustion caught up with him. He collapsed at the base of a still-standing tree, breathing heavily. And in the silence that followed, old thoughts crept in, ones he always tried to push away. Growing up in the Leaf Village had left deep scars. No broken bones or bloody bruises, but mental wounds that refused to heal. The sealed beast inside him gave him an unnatural healing ability, so to the outside world he looked fine. Normal. But inside, he carried a mountain of pain. Most days, he wore a mask of confidence and joy, but that mask was beginning to crack. He was never physically tortured, not often anyway, except for the rare drunk or his birthday when people dared to be crueler. But the emotional torment, the isolation, the whispered curses, the fearful stares, that was constant. Kicked out of the orphanage, left to fend for himself in cold alleys and trash bins, it was a miracle he was still standing. And yet he kept fighting. For attention, for acknowledgement, for a reason to exist. Outwardly he was loud, enthusiastic, perhaps even annoying. But it was all a facade, carefully built to hide the chaos within. Deep down, he didn't even fully understand his own emotions. He thought that if he became Hokage, everything would be okay, that people would finally see him. So he smiled, laughed, made a fool of himself, suppressing his pain, convincing himself it was worth it. But every now and then, something cracked the dam. He looked up at the sky, hollow and tired. Would happiness ever truly be his? He often felt like some cruel god was using him as a cosmic punching bag. The third Hokage always told him to be patient, that things would improve. But why did he, a child who'd been through hell, have to be the one to bear that burden? Why didn't the adults do better? Some days, he wanted to give up. But he couldn't, not because he believed things would change, but because giving up meant the people who hated him would win. So he kept moving forward, hoping someday it would all make sense. Eventually, Naruto drifted off into a dreamless sleep. Scene change, a soft breeze carried the scent of dew and wildflowers as a young girl made her way through the forest. The morning was peaceful, sunlight filtering gently through the leaves above. Birds chirped and the undergrowth rustled quietly beneath her steps. She carried a small basket, keeping a sharp eye out for anything useful. As she wandered deeper, she stumbled upon a strange sight, a clearing ravaged as if a battle had taken place. Trees shredded, earth torn, and at the center of the destruction lay a boy in an orange outfit, fast asleep amidst the wreckage. The girl paused, she recognized him instantly. He's one of the Leaf Shinobi Zabuza-sama fought, she thought cautiously, her eyes narrowed. I could end him right now, it would be easy, she thought, slowly approaching. She knelt beside him and reached toward his throat, then suddenly hesitated. Her hand shifted at the last second, gently shaking his shoulder instead. If you sleep out here, you'll catch a cold, she said softly. Naruto stirred, blinking blearily. A warm scent filled his nose, and as his vision cleared, he saw a girl with long brown hair, flawless pale skin, and warm chocolate eyes looking at him with genuine concern. His heart skipped a beat. Tenshi, he murmured, barely audible. The girl blushed at being called an angel but smiled kindly. Naruto snapped out of his trance, rubbing the back of his head awkwardly. Did you wake me up, Tenshi-chan? What are you doing out here? Though slightly flustered by the nickname, the girl quickly gathered herself to reply. Gathering herbs, she replied softly. Herbs, Naruto echoed, tilting his head in curiosity. Yes, they help treat wounds and illnesses. Her voice was gentle, lacking the usual bitterness or disdain Naruto had grown used to from others. It warmed something deep inside him. Being emotionally inexperienced, he couldn't name the feeling. It was simply something pleasant that he didn't want to end. Motivated by this unfamiliar comfort, Naruto offered to help the kind girl collect the herbs she needed. As they picked through the foliage, he kept sneaking glances at her. If she noticed, she didn't show it, her voice. He wanted to hear more of it. Why are you doing this kind of work so early, Tenshi-chan? He asked, calling her an angel once again, making a faint blush appear on her cheeks. Please don't call me that. My name's Haku, she corrected. Naruto grinned at the name and quickly remembered his manners. Nice to meet you, Haku-chan. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of the Hidden Leaf, he declared proudly, throwing his fist into the air. She couldn't help but laugh softly at his enthusiastic display. That sound hit Naruto like a ray of sunlight. It was delicate, like wind chimes in the breeze. He wanted to hear more of it. It's a pleasure to meet you too, Naruto-kun, she said with a radiant smile that turned him into a stammering, blushing mess. Haku giggled to herself. She found his honesty and bright energy charming. He was refreshingly different from what she was used to. Zabuza wouldn't approve, but something about this boy drew her in. What brings you out here so early, Naruto-kun? She asked. Once he recovered from the embarrassment, he flashed a fox-like grin. Training, he answered enthusiastically, catching her off guard. Are you a shinobi? She asked, feigning ignorance despite already knowing the answer. Guilt tugged at her a little for pretending, but she wasn't ready to reveal her identity. Something about him stirred a need within her to understand why he felt so familiar. Do I look like one? Do I? He asked excitedly. His energy made her laugh again. That's right, I'm a ninja, he said, proudly thumbing his chest. That's incredible, she said with admiration. Naruto blushed again and puffed out his chest at the praise, but she wanted to know more. So why are you training so hard? Because I want to become stronger, he said honestly. But you already seem strong, she replied. Not enough, I want to keep getting stronger, he insisted. Haku paused thoughtfully. What drives you? She asked. Is it for someone else's sake or your own? Naruto blinked, puzzled. No one had ever asked him that before. He always assumed strength would lead to becoming Hokage and finally being accepted. He looked confused, and Haku chuckled at the innocent expression on his face. What's so funny? He pouted, which only made her laugh more. When she settled down, she smiled at him warmly, the kind of smile that melted away worry. Do you have someone precious to you? She asked. Her question stopped him cold. Haku noticed immediately she had touched a nerve. Naruto, for his part, was swamped by memories he'd rather avoid. He felt that same old ache twist in his gut and tried to brush it off. He asked a deflecting question instead. Someone important? What do you mean? A silence settled between them. Haku chose not to push. Her mind wandered back to her own past. Cold nights, hunger, loneliness, painful memories. Neither of them realized how much their lives mirrored each other. As she drifted into reflection, Naruto studied her. Despite knowing her only briefly, he felt a strange bond forming, one deeper than anything he'd known. He wanted to see her smile again. Before he could speak, she met his gaze. Her soft brown eyes locked with his, reaching deep into his soul. Then she spoke words that would mark him forever. True strength is born when you have someone to protect. Her words hit him like a bell echoing through his core. It stirred something inside, something ancient and powerful. He searched within himself, looking for someone he might fight to protect. There were people he thought of as precious, like the old man Hawkage, whom he called Gigi. But he often wondered, did the Hawkage truly care, or was it just duty? Especially after learning the truth from Mizuki, that the demon fox had been sealed inside him. Everything made sense after that, the glares, the whispers, the isolation. The lies. He remembered all the times the Hawkage deflected his questions about his parents. Even Uruka, who eventually grew fond of him, had once looked at him with disgust. Naruto cared for them all but couldn't help questioning their intentions. His teammates, best not even go there. Sakura hit him constantly and treated him like dirt. Sasuke acted like Naruto was beneath him. Kakashi showed little interest beyond their missions and seemed focused only on pushing Sasuke forward. The only people he knew for sure cared about him were Tyuchi and I.M from Ikaraku Ramen. They fed him, spoke to him kindly, and treated him like a human being. It was a small thing, but it meant everything. All these thoughts flashed through his mind in seconds. He looked up at Haku. She saw it in his eyes. That same pain she saw in her own reflection. He didn't know why, but he trusted her, deeply, more than he trusted anyone in Konoha, so he opened up. For the first time ever, he told someone everything. His pain, his fears, his loneliness. Haku was stunned. She now understood why he felt so familiar, because they were the same. And he chose to share that with her, a stranger. It spoke volumes. So she opened up in return, omitting only her connection to Zabuza. Her life, too, was marked by hardship, by rejection. They talked more, shared dreams, hobbies. Haku was surprised to find Naruto liked flowers and gardening. Naruto was delighted to hear she liked ramen, even if not as obsessively as he did. Their conversation flowed easily after that, and Naruto felt something lift from him, a heavy burden he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. As he gazed at her glowing smile and the warmth in her eyes, he made a silent vow. He had never seen anything more beautiful than this. Eventually, they parted, promising to meet again the next day. Naruto walked away with a bounce in his step, feeling lighter than he had in years. Scene transition. Naruto was startled awake by a high-pitched scream followed by the sound of something crashing. Blinking rapidly, he quickly realized he was in the guest room at Tazuna's residence. Apparently, he had overslept. Another cry pierced the silence, and this time he recognized the voice, Tsunami. Adrenaline kicked in instantly as he dashed out of the room and down the stairs. The sight that greeted him ignited a furious rage in his chest. Tsunami was on the floor, one of Gato's hired thugs gripping her hair cruelly. Part of her face was red and swollen, she'd clearly been struck. Another thug was approaching a trembling Inari, who stood frozen in terror. Naruto prepared to leap into action, but Inari's voice reached him first. "Let go of my mom, you creeps," the boy shouted, wielding a kitchen knife with shaking hands. Naruto felt a proud grin creep onto his face. Inari had found the courage to protect his family. Without hesitation, Naruto summoned 2 clones and performed a swift Kawarimi no Jutsu, replacing Tsunami and Inari with his shadow selves. While the thugs reeled in confusion, Naruto surged forward and swiftly knocked them unconscious. He tied them up with ninja wire and had his clones drag the unconscious men out of the house. Turning back, he gave Inari an encouraging smile. "Well done standing up for your mother, Inari. I'm sure she's proud of you," he said warmly, causing the boy to blush and Tsunami to beam with pride. Naruto asked about his teammates and was immediately concerned to hear they'd already left for the bridge. As he raced toward the ongoing battle, his mind wandered to the last few days. He'd spent time with Haku, talking about everything under the sun. Those quiet moments had been the most peaceful of his life. There was something about her, her serene smile, her curious mind, that made his troubles seem smaller. Just being around her brought him a sense of calm he hadn't known he needed. He didn't fully understand the feelings she stirred in him, but one thing was clear. He wanted to keep her smile safe. The distant clang of metal and rising tension jolted him back to the present. Up ahead, the bridge was shrouded in mist and chaos. Kakashi was dueling Zabuza. Sakura stood protectively in front of Tazuna, visibly nervous. Most striking, however, was the eerie ice dome near the center. By deduction, he guessed Sasuke was inside, battling the masked accomplice of Zabuza. Deciding that Kakashi could handle himself, Naruto ran toward the dome, just in time to see Sasuke collapse, his body pierced by needle-like projectiles. Though Naruto didn't have the closest bond with Sasuke, seeing a comrade fall sparked a visceral reaction in him. Inside the dome, Haku noticed Naruto's arrival. Her heart sank. She was torn, her duty to Zabuza conflicted with her deepening feelings for the boy who had shown her a kindness she'd never known. In just a few days, Naruto had become special to her. He was strong, but not strong enough. This is the fate of shinobi, Haku said with quiet sadness. She hadn't aimed to kill, but she had to maintain the illusion. Naruto's mind flashed back to the words Haku once told him. A person becomes truly strong when they fight to protect someone dear to them. Sasuke might not be someone he held dear, but as a fellow Konoha shinobi, he was someone worth protecting. Just imagining Haku in Sasuke's place shattered something inside Naruto. An overwhelming surge of chakra exploded from him, filling the air with a dense, suffocating pressure. Haku was stunned. She had never imagined this gentle, kind boy possessed such raw, terrifying power. And yet, it was clear, he was fighting not out of hate, but out of something deeper, something she had helped awaken. That thought filled her with bittersweet pride. She launched a barrage of senbon, but Naruto's chakra flared visibly, forming a barrier that deflected them with ease. She moved between her mirrors to flank him, but he was already there. With blinding speed, he caught up and landed a devastating punch, sending her crashing out of the dome and shattering it. Naruto breathed heavily, the rush of power thrilling but dangerous. He forced himself to stay grounded, he couldn't let the power consume him. As Haku staggered to her feet, her mask began to crack. Naruto charged, ready to end the fight, until his fist stopped inches from her face. Her mask fell away, there she was. Even bloodied and broken, she was beautiful, and her sad, wistful smile broke his heart. Haku, why? He asked, his voice thick with emotion. I'm just a tool for Zabuza-sama. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I've outlived my purpose. You can end it here. I'll die without regrets if it's by your hand, she whispered. Naruto was shattered. Everything, the friendship, the laughter, the trust, it all felt like it was crumbling. But what hurt more was hearing her devalue her life. How can you say that? He cried. You're not a tool, you're my friend. You made me believe I mattered, so how can you think you don't? I won't let you throw yourself away like this. Her eyes welled with tears, but her smile remained. In his presence, she felt warm, human. She finally understood. What she felt for him was something deeper than friendship. But before she could say more, a familiar sound pierced the air, chirping like 1,000 birds. She turned toward Zabuza and saw Kakashi preparing a final, deadly move. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, this broken tool still has one last use. With a flash, she vanished. Naruto screamed her name and ran after her, desperate to stop the inevitable. Scene transition. Kakashi, drained from his prolonged battle, had his target immobilized by summoned hounds. He charged with his Raikiri, aiming straight for Zabuza's heart. Shlurk. He felt the impact, flesh, not armor. But when he looked up, it wasn't Zabuza's face that greeted him. It was the girl's, the same girl who had fought beside the demon of the mist. Naruto arrived a second too late. Haku, he shrieked, horror-struck. Kakashi, shaken, withdrew his hand. Haku collapsed forward, but before she hit the ground, Naruto slid under her, catching her gently in his arms. She was fading fast. Blood stained her robes. For the first time in years, Naruto couldn't hold back. The tears came and they wouldn't stop. He sobbed into her shoulder, the grief overwhelming. Then, a delicate hand brushed against his cheek. He looked up through watery eyes, meeting the gaze of the one who had changed his life. His angel. You're always such a crybaby, Naruto-kun, she teased lightly, a gentle smile gracing her lips. But why Haku-chan? He asked, voice trembling. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, my body just moved on its own. Still, I don't regret it. I was able to protect the one I hold dear, she replied, her smile tinged with peace. Was it all fake, everything we shared? He asked desperately, needing the truth. Never, Naruto-kun. Cough, every moment I had with you I cherished. I told you I always saw myself as nothing more than a tool, but when I was around you, I felt like I could be a normal girl. You made me feel human. Those memories are precious to me. I know I may not deserve it, but please believe me when I say you mean everything to me. Her smile was warm, even as her breath grew weaker. You're just as important to me. Before I met you, I was so lost, like I had no purpose. But then you came into my life and gave it warmth. Your laughter, your smile, it made me feel alive in a way I never knew before. I promised myself that if I ever saw you again, I'd ask you what those strange feelings meant, because I just couldn't figure them out. His words spilled out, laced with raw emotion. Her response was a light, airy laugh, the one he had come to treasure. Love, Naruto-kun, that feeling is love, she said, beaming brighter than ever. And I feel the same. I love you, Naruto-kun. Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke. Those words shattered the emotional walls he had built throughout his life and struck something deep within. Just hearing them made every hardship, every lonely moment worth enduring. It felt like his whole life had led to this one moment. In her arms, he finally found peace. For a moment, he believed he could take on the world if it meant protecting that smile. But then cough, Haku's lips were stained with blood. Her breathing grew shallow. Naruto's panic surged. Haku-chan, stay with me please. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I don't think I'll make it, she whispered, the sadness in her smile twisting the knife in his heart. No, don't say that, you can make it. Please fight for me, he begged, clutching her close. Don't cry, Naruto-kun. If I must die, I'm glad it's in the arms of the one I love. There's no better way I could go. Her voice was faint but full of love. No, I need you. You're the only one who's ever loved me. I can't go back to being alone. Please, I'm begging you, don't leave me. His sobs shook them both, as he pressed his face against her weakening chest. The pain in Haku's heart mirrored his own. She wished nothing more than to live a full life by his side. She could almost see it. A small home by a peaceful river, their children laughing while she waited for him to come home. A simple, happy life. But it was a dream she knew would never be real. Still, she needed to help him let go. Naruto-kun, I know this hurts. I wanted that life with you too. I wanted to grow old with you, raise a family, but I won't get that chance. Her voice trembled as tears slipped from her eyes. Still, I believe in you. I believe you'll survive this pain and become someone truly great. Promise me, don't shut yourself off. Don't let this love be your last. I'll be selfish and ask that you never forget me, but please, find love again someday. That's my final wish. The thought of letting her go crushed him, but he couldn't say no, not to her. You're cruel, Haku-chan, you know I'd never refuse you. She giggled faintly, the sound he adored more than anything. He memorized her features in that moment, committing them to memory and soul. Her trembling hand reached to cup his face, and he held it gently. Can I be selfish just once more and ask for one final request? She whispered. He pressed a kiss to her palm, overcome by emotion. Anything, Haku-chan. Then, could you give me my first and last kiss? She asked softly. His eyes widened, but he nodded with a trembling smile. He cupped her face as she mirrored the gesture. Their foreheads touched. Their hearts beat in unison. The world faded away as they gazed into each other's eyes. I love you, Naruto-kun, she whispered with every bit of love she had. And I love you, Tenshi-chan, he replied. Their lips met. The world burst into color. His gray and painful world was painted anew in vibrant hues. In that fleeting kiss, he experienced the height of happiness and the depth of despair. As tears streamed down his cheeks, the warmth of her breath faded. Her hand slipped from his cheek, and in that instant, his world shattered. A mournful cry echoed across the bridge, a raw sound of agony only the truly heartbroken could make. The scene was unbearable even to hardened warriors. Naruto clutched Haku's lifeless form tightly, sobbing uncontrollably. Kakashi stood frozen. He saw echoes of his past in the scene, Rin's lifeless body, Obito's despair. Memories he buried long ago clawed their way to the surface. In Naruto's grief, he saw the reflection of his long-lost teammates. Zabuza felt numb. His tool had done exactly what he trained her to do, sacrifice herself for his life. Yet now, staring at the boy cradling her like a lost treasure, he felt something hollow in his chest. Memories of the small girl he met so long ago flooded his mind. The way she smiled, the comfort she brought. He'd never called her family, but in his heart she was. He just never said it. Maybe if he had, she'd still be alive. She gave her life to buy him time he didn't deserve. Tears he thought he'd never shed welled up in his eyes. Then the silence was broken by mocking laughter and slow, sarcastic applause. "Awa, how tragic," sneered a familiar, nasal voice. All eyes turned toward the end of the bridge, where a short man flanked by thugs stood smirking. "Gato," Zabuza growled. "What's the meaning of this?" "Heh, plans changed," the little man replied smugly. "You were just a temporary tool, Zabuza. If I'd hired actual shinobi, it would have cost too much. Hiring a rogue ninja like you, much cheaper." "You bastard," Zabuza snarled. Gato chuckled darkly. "And you call yourself the demon of the mist, you're more like a defanged pet." "Kakashi, it's over. There's no point in continuing this fight," Zabuza said calmly. "I no longer have a reason to kill the bridge builder, so our battle ends here." "Yeah, I get it," Kakashi responded, forcing aside his thoughts to deal with the situation in front of him. "That brat of yours really did a number on my hand. I was looking forward to giving her to my boys as a plaything, but it looks like she's already dead. Shame, she would have made a nice pet once broken in." Gato sneered, his voice dripping with perversion. The atmosphere shifted drastically. Kakashi's eyes narrowed, and Zabuza clenched his jaw. But Gato didn't get the chance to run his mouth further, his voice caught, and a wave of fear overtook him. His body trembled, sweat soaked his face, and he lost control of his bladder as a dark spot spread on his pants. The bridge was drowning in murderous intent. Rage, hatred, bloodlust, it was suffocating. Kakashi immediately recognized the feeling. It was just like the day the Ninetales attacked the village, but somehow, this was sharper, more focused. He looked at Naruto, still holding Haku's body, now surrounded by a sinister swirl of blood-red chakra. He silently prayed the seal would hold. Zabuza was shaken. He had been surrounded by killers his entire life, but what he was feeling from the boy now wasn't normal killing intent. It felt like death itself was looming, ready to strike. His instincts screamed at him to run, even though his pride refused. Gato's men didn't fare as well. Mere street scum with no combat experience, they were mentally crushed under the weight of the boy's fury. Some trembled and wept. Others collapsed where they stood, foaming at the mouth, broken by visions of their deaths. Naruto snapped. He stopped holding back the emotions he'd buried for years. Pain, fury, the desire to destroy, he let it all flood out. Every cruel word, every lonely night, every moment of being unloved came crashing down inside him. All of it, directed at the man who had brought this country to its knees, and stolen the one person who had shown him true kindness. The one person who made him feel human. Haku. Whether it was logical or not, Naruto didn't care. His mind was a storm of agony and wrath. Somewhere in that maelstrom, something ancient stirred. For just a moment, the cloak of crimson chakra shimmered into a glowing gold. No one noticed, but deep within Naruto's mind, a monstrous eye opened and grinned. "Hey kid, toss me a kunai," Zabuza called out. Naruto looked up, his eyes still burning with pain and fury. Seeing those haunted eyes, Zabuza flinched but remained composed. Naruto obeyed. He could feel Zabuza was no longer an enemy, and more importantly, he was someone Haku had cared about. "I know you want to tear them apart, but stay where you are," Zabuza continued. "Haku, she loved you, I think. I've never seen her smile like she did around you. That girl was the only light in my miserable life, and I never told her, not once, that I saw her as a daughter, that she wasn't just a tool to me. She deserved better, and maybe this is my chance to give her that. To leave behind something more than blood and death. Watch closely, boy. You were important to her, so I'll trust you with this last lesson. Shinobi, we're seen as weapons, tools. But that's not all we are. What matters isn't how we lived, but how we die. My end won't be as the demon of the mist, but as the man who honored her final wish. Just lay me next to her when this is over." Zabuza gripped the kunai in his teeth, his arms too damaged to move. The thugs had barely regained their composure before Zabuza surged forward like a phantom of death. He tore through them, mercilessly. Crushing bones underfoot, slashing throats with brutal precision, he was a blur of violence and fury. Even bleeding from numerous wounds, he was unstoppable. Naruto watched in awe. For the first time, he questioned what it truly meant to be strong, to be a shinobi. Haku had believed in this man, trusted him with her life, and now, even broken and dying, Zabuza fought on. Not for glory, not for money, but to protect her memory, and Naruto understood. "I get it now, Haku, I understand what you were trying to tell me. This is my vow, I'll carry your heart with me, always," he thought, a single tear falling as he watched. Inari and the villagers arrived just in time to witness the bloody massacre. Though it turned their stomachs, they stayed. They had to see it through. Gato, in a desperate panic, tried to flee, but Zabuza caught him easily. With kunai in mouth and death in his eyes, he ended the tyrant's life in a storm of cuts, sending his mutilated body over the edge of the bridge into the sea below. Zabuza, his vengeance complete, staggered back to Haku's side. He collapsed beside her, motioning Naruto to come closer. The boy leaned in as Zabuza whispered his last words, eyes widening at the message. "Goodbye, Haku, thank you, I'm sorry," were Zabuza's final words. He passed away not as a monster, but as a man, one who loved and protected and redeemed himself. Scene change, Naruto stood silently before two simple graves. His heart ached with a weight words couldn't describe. In the span of days, he had felt love, pain, loss, and hope. He would never forget her smile, her warmth, her unwavering belief in him. The ache in his heart told him she was gone, but not truly. She lived on in the vow he made, in the man he would become. He would carry her dreams and protect the things she cherished. He would be the kind of man worthy of her love, the kind of man who could change the world. He didn't know how yet, but he knew why. That was enough. A hand rested on his shoulder. He turned and saw Kakashi standing beside him, saying nothing. He didn't need to. Naruto was no longer the same boy who crossed into this foreign land. He had been broken and reforged. "Are you holding up okay, Naruto?" Kakashi asked gently. Ever since the confrontation on the bridge, his student had become noticeably distant. It wasn't unexpected, considering the emotional weight of what had transpired. Kakashi had a strong suspicion that Naruto had formed a bond with the girl, Haku, and losing her clearly had taken a toll. There was also a lingering question in his mind. Did Naruto resent him for being the one to strike the fatal blow? If he did, he hadn't voiced it. But the once exuberant boy was far quieter now, his usual energy dimmed. Kakashi could only hope he was coping. Naruto flinched subtly, then let his shoulders relax. He didn't really know how to behave around Kakashi-sensei anymore. Every time he saw him, his mind replayed the moment Haku's chest was pierced by Kakashi's chidori. Logically, he knew it wasn't Kakashi's fault. Haku had leapt into the path meant for Zabuza. But the memory still haunted him. It might take time, maybe a long time, before he felt truly at ease around his teacher again. Still, he refused to let hatred take root in his heart. I'm not going to lie and say I'm alright, Kakashi-sensei. It hurts knowing she's really gone. But I have to keep moving forward. It's what she would have wanted. I won't throw away the life she gave me, Naruto replied quietly. Kakashi gave a solemn nod, taking a moment to offer his own silent respects. Scene transition, Naruto now sat cross-legged inside a small cottage hidden deep within the forest of the Land of Waves. Before dying, Zabuza had revealed the location of a hideout and entrusted its contents to Naruto. It had taken some time to locate, but now, 2 days after the incident on the bridge, Naruto had found it, and had begun the process of recovering, mentally and emotionally. The place was packed with gear: kunai, shuriken, senbon, ninja wire, explosive tags, smoke bombs, a variety of blades, and even soldier pills. Along with that came extra clothing and a significant stash of money Zabuza had apparently saved up. Although he felt a bit guilty claiming it all, he remembered Zabuza's final words, urging him to use it however he saw fit. In truth, it was a windfall for Naruto, who had always struggled to find good quality supplies in Konoha. The villagers' hatred meant he was either refused service or sold subpar gear at outrageous prices. Most of his tools were scavenged from old training grounds, their edges dull and chipped. But now, with this new cash, he finally had the means to prepare himself properly. He methodically began sealing the supplies into scrolls to make them easier to carry. To his surprise, the cottage also contained numerous scrolls, most of them covering Sutin and Futin techniques, Kenjutsu forms, and chakra control practices. It was a goldmine. He silently thanked the late Demon of the Mist. Naruto had lacked real guidance in his training, left to flounder due to indifferent instructors and his own distractions. But now, with both a goal and the means to achieve it, he was determined to improve. Once he had packed away the gear, Naruto returned to the lotus position on the floor. He couldn't explain it, but something was drawing him inward, urging him to focus. His instincts told him to listen, and Naruto had learned long ago that his gut rarely led him wrong. Ever since the battle on the bridge, something inside him felt different. He had begun sensing emotions around him, especially negative ones. At the time, he didn't understand what was happening, but in the past couple of days, he had come to realize it wasn't his imagination. Whether it was a bloodline or something else, he had no idea. He hadn't told anyone, not even Kakashi. He was still feeling too isolated to open up. He meditated for what felt like hours, chasing the feeling tugging at his soul. The air around him shifted. Suddenly, the cottage was gone. Naruto's eyes snapped open. He now stood ankle-deep in water in a long, dimly lit corridor. The walls were lined with pipes, and a soft dripping sound echoed throughout the space. It felt heavy here, charged with an ancient presence. Something primal and immense was calling to him, pulling him further down the hallway. Trusting his instincts, he walked into the shadowed tunnel. After what seemed like an eternity, he saw light ahead. As he stepped into a massive chamber, he was met with the sight of a towering iron gate. The bars extended so high he couldn't see where they ended. A single paper tag with the kanji for seal was affixed to the center. Darkness loomed behind the gate, and a palpable pressure filled the space. As Naruto stared, something stirred. Then 2 glowing crimson eyes opened and locked onto him. He froze, heart pounding. The shadow behind the bars began to move forward. A hulking figure stepped into view, nearly 50 feet tall, cloaked in radiant red fur. Razor-sharp claws and 9 enormous tails flicked through the gloom. Naruto's breath caught. He knew who this was. The 9 tails, he whispered. The very being that had brought Konoha to its knees the night he was born. Fear crept up his spine, but he held it down. The Naruto of the past might have panicked or screamed, but he had changed. Haku had taught him not to judge by appearances. She'd helped him grow. So instead, he stood tall, shaken inside but composed on the outside. Well, well. The jailer finally comes to visit. I'm positively touched, the beast sneered, its voice laced with mockery and disdain. The chamber vibrated with its words. Naruto snapped out of his trance and locked eyes with the massive fox. You're the Kyuubi, he murmured. His thoughts raced. He wanted to freak out, wanted to run, but he pushed the urge aside. Ah, a genius among humans. I do have 9 massive tails waving around after all. Even a blind chimp could figure it out, the fox drawled. Naruto's eye twitched. Want a metal genius, it mocked. That was it. Naruto's patience broke. Go screw yourself, you mangy overgrown hairball, he shouted back. The response was immediate. What did you say, why oh you little worm? If this seal weren't here I'd rip you limb from limb. The Kyuubi thundered, its tails slamming into the floor as it lunged forward. Naruto's legs shook slightly, but he didn't show it. Years of masking emotions had taught him to keep a straight face. Okay, I'm sorry, alright, I lost my cool. You started mocking me and I got pissed. That was my bad, he said, genuinely apologetic. The past few days had drained him emotionally, He didn't have the energy for this kind of hostility. The beast paused, then seemed to raise a furry brow. Apology accepted. I may have overreacted as well. I'm not fond of jokes about my ears, it rumbled. Its voice now lacked the previous venom, and Naruto noticed something odd in its tone, something oddly familiar. But he let it slide. There were more important things to figure out. I get it. I know what it's like when people tease you for something you can't change, like my height, Naruto said with a knowing look, prompting the fox spirit to give a small nod. You're not what I expected, honestly. I figured you'd be ranting about revenge and destruction, demanding blood or something like that, he admitted, treading carefully. He had prepared himself for a much more hostile encounter. Instead of anger and flames, he was met with this. Not that he was complaining. TCH, humans are always assuming things. Don't compare me to your kind. I don't lose myself to blind hatred like some mindless animal. That's what humans do. I am far more dignified and composed. The fox replied, its voice laced with arrogance. Naruto stifled a chuckle. The last thing he wanted was to offend it again. No offense, but you kinda did go on a rampage in the village 13 years ago. That's why people treat me like a freak, Naruto pointed out. It was frustrating, sure, knowing this beast's presence had brought him pain. But blaming it entirely would make him no better than the villagers who never tried to understand. He refused to become like them. Humans always need someone to blame for their misery. You just happen to be the convenient target during their so-called time of peace. But you've made another assumption, that I just appeared there. I didn't. I was already in that village, from the very beginning. Naruto blinked, confused. He wasn't a genius, but he could think on his feet. Still this made no sense. A giant fox like that wouldn't exactly blend into the background, unless, his breath hitched as realization dawned. Seems you're not completely hopeless. You're right, you're not the first vessel I've had. In fact, you're the third. Jinchuriki, the human sacrifice, that's what they call those who bear our power. The words hit Naruto like a slap. He wasn't the first. Why had no one told him? Why hadn't the Hokage shared that? It could have changed so much, shown people he wasn't the beast, just another in a line of hosts. His faith in the old man took another blow. There are more like you, Naruto asked, head tilted slightly. The expression would have melted hearts, Kyuubi included, though it quickly masked the faint blush. Indeed. My kin and I are known as Biju, or tailed beasts. Each of us is identified by how many tails we possess. From the one tail, Shukaku, to me, the mighty 9 tails. The fox declared proudly, puffing its chest as Naruto gave a small applause, making it even more smug. Okay, but you said Shukaku by name. What's your name? Naruto questioned. The fox froze for a second, not having anticipated the inquiry. And I don't plan to tell you, you're not worthy. Besides, how can you ask for my name when you don't even know your full own? My full name, Naruto frowned. It's Uzumaki Naruto. That's not entirely true. That's your given name, yes. But you're missing your father's surname. Naruto's heart skipped a beat. You know who my parents are, please tell me, he begged, desperation seeping into his voice. It was the answer he'd wanted more than anything else. I do. And so does your village's previous leader. But I won't hand you that truth. Not yet, you must prove your resolve first. Naruto's eyes locked onto the fox's with unshakable determination. How? Face your darkness. The part of you you've buried, the emotions you've silenced to fit in. I won't tell you anything until you embrace the whole of who you are. Light and shadow, spirit and flesh, life is balance. Right now, you're incomplete. Until you confront your inner truth, I will remain silent. The weight of those words sank in. He hadn't realized he was rejecting part of himself. The pain, the bitterness, it had all been locked away. Could he really face it without breaking? Then came the sound of footsteps. Slow, approaching. Splashes echoed off the shallow water as someone neared. He turned slowly, heart racing. Well, look who finally decided to stop hiding, came a voice that matched his, only colder, more guttural. Naruto spun around, eyes going wide. It was him, an exact double, except the eyes. Blood-red irises over black sclera, seething with fury and disdain. Who are you? He asked, already dreading the answer. The double smirked. Isn't it obvious I'm you? What? I never made a shadow clone. No. I'm the part of you that you've kept locked away. Your hatred, your sorrow, I'm the real you. Naruto backed up a step. The real me. That's right, the double said with venom. I'm everything you've tried to deny. Before Naruto could process more, his dark half lunged, landing a hard punch to his jaw. Pain flared, but Naruto managed a counterattack, landing a blow of his own. As they clashed again and again, he realized his dark self was sharper, more precise, stronger. I don't want to fight. I've had enough of fighting, but he won't stop. I have to find a way to end this. You can't win, the double said flatly, as if reading his mind. Another barrage came. Naruto blocked what he could, but the damage was piling up. His body ached, his spirit waned. Why fight himself? He just wanted peace. His mind drifted to Haku, her smile, her warmth, flashback. Is it wrong, Haku-chan, to feel hatred toward those who hurt me? Is it bad that I want to make them suffer too? Will you think less of me? Naruto asked quietly, resting his head in Haku's lap. They were in the same peaceful clearing where they'd first met 2 days ago. Naruto's eyes were filled with unease, fear creeping into his voice. Haku, by contrast, wore the same soft smile that always made his heart skip. Never, Naruto-kun, I could never think any less of you. Those feelings aren't wrong. Everyone experiences them, me included. They're part of being human. What's important is that you recognize them, accept them, but don't let them control you. If you bottle them up or pretend they don't exist, they'll only grow stronger. Fill your heart with love, not to erase the pain but to keep it from consuming you, Haku replied, her gentle expression warming Naruto's heart. Flashback ends. Naruto smiled faintly at the memory of his angel and her wise words. They rang true now more than ever. A surge of energy filled him. Back then, he hadn't truly understood what she meant. He didn't even understand love. But now he did. Yami Naruto, meanwhile, was agitated. His counterpart wasn't even trying to resist. Instead, he stood there smiling. What's with that grin? You think this is funny? Yami Naruto barked. No, not at all, Naruto answered, the same calm smile on his lips. Then wipe that smile off your face. I hate it. You wear it to hide the pain from those filthy villagers. You've forgotten, haven't you? 13 years, Naruto. 13 years they treated us like filth. They knew we weren't the Ninetales itself. They knew we were just its jailer, and still they spat on us, cursed at us, taught their brats to do the same. We weren't even human to them. We weren't allowed joy. And you just smile and talk about protecting them. Yami Naruto shouted, his voice raw with pain. His words struck something deep inside Naruto, because they were his words, his thoughts. Ever since he was little, he'd forced himself not to dwell on those feelings. Thinking too much led to painful truths. Why did they hate him? Why was he alone? He'd never get answers he could live with, so he smiled. He laughed. He acted out, hoping it would distract him from the truth. You're right, Naruto admitted, his smile turning sorrowful. That smile, it was a mask, a shield to protect myself from all the pain. I won't deny it. If I hadn't hidden behind it, I don't think I could have survived. But I see the villagers for who they are now, and even so, I'll keep smiling. Yami Naruto trembled with anger. How can you be so naive? They broke us. They lied to us, mocked us, isolated us. Only I've been honest with you. I'm the only one who understands. He screamed as he lunged at Naruto. Both were in tears, pain shared between them like a mirror. Yami drew back his fist, ready to strike, only to be pulled into a firm, compassionate embrace. How can you still forgive them? He asked, voice cracking. Naruto's response came with clarity and warmth. You're wrong if you think I've forgotten what they did. I remember it all. Every cold glare, every whisper, every closed door. I spent so long begging for their approval, pulling pranks, wearing bright colors just so someone would see me. I let my training slide, hoping just one person would look my way, even if it was in anger. And now I see how pointless that was, but it doesn't matter anymore. Naruto looked at his darker half with tear-filled eyes. I've already been accepted. Someone saw me for who I am and loved me anyway. That's more than any of those villagers could ever offer. That love gave me strength. I don't need their approval, I never did. From now on, I won't smile to hide the pain. I'll smile because she gave me a reason to live. I'll protect the village, not for them, but for the few who do care. For Tyuchi and Iame who fed us. For Uruka-sensei who gave us a chance. Even the old man Hokage, he may have lied, but he was the closest thing we had to family. He tightened his embrace. And most of all for Haku-chan. She believed in a world without hate. I'll carry on her dream so no one else has to suffer like we did. You're not alone anymore. I accept you. I am you. The two Narutos glowed with radiant light as their emotions aligned. The light surged brighter until it forced even the Kyuubi to avert its gaze. When it faded, only one Naruto remained taller, straighter, more composed. His blue eyes gleamed with peace and purpose. The Kyuubi smirked slightly. You did well, boy, you've passed the test. How do you feel? She asked. Naruto looked at her, serene and glowing. I feel whole. For the first time in my life, I feel complete. My thoughts are clear, my body feels like mine. My chakra flows smoothly, it's no longer fighting against me. That's because your body and soul are finally in sync. You've stopped rejecting who you are. Few ever reach that level of understanding, even your Hokage likely hasn't. The Kyuubi said, impressed. Naruto nodded slowly, realization dawning as his senses sharpened. There was something about the Kyuubi's voice he hadn't noticed before. Now, with his mind clear, it clicked. Wait. You're a woman, he blurted out, pointing in disbelief. Correct. I am the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune Queen of the Tailed Beasts, she said proudly, striking a dramatic pose. Naruto gave her a flat look. You totally made that title up. It doesn't make it less true, she pouted, looking absurdly cute despite her monstrous size. Naruto chuckled. All this time I thought you were a dude. Guess I never noticed the subtle hints, he muttered. Then he frowned slightly. Your voice, though, kind of deep for a woman. The mood shifted. What's that supposed to mean? Are you saying I sound like a man? Is that a problem, boy? She growled, her aura flaring. Unfazed, Naruto deadpanned. You do sound like a dude. Maybe try adjusting your tone a bit. She let out a dramatic groan. You have no idea how hard it is being a woman with this voice. Naruto scratched his cheek awkwardly. Hey, I didn't mean to upset you. Honestly, I think your voice is kind of pretty. Her ears perked up, and she gazed at him thoughtfully. Really? She asked softly, a hint of disbelief in her voice. Naruto gave a firm nod, causing her expression to brighten and her tails to sway with joy. He had to suppress a chuckle at how endearing she looked. Honestly, she wasn't nearly as bad as people made her out to be. But Naruto had long since learned that people only see what they want to, and they often respond to what they fear or don't understand with cruelty. Still, he straightened up. This wasn't just about comfort anymore. He had finally come to terms with himself, and now he needed the truth. To move forward, he had to understand where he came from. He needed to fully understand who he was in order to become the man he aspired to be. You promised to tell me about my parents if I passed your test, he reminded her, pulling the kyuubi from her thoughts. She glanced at him, gaze sharp and appraising, before giving a nod and settling her chin on her paws. Get comfortable. I'm going to tell you not just about your parents, but also about where I came from. Our stories are linked. It's all part of a bigger picture, she began. Naruto crossed his legs and sat down on the surface of the water, ready to listen. My story starts with the Sage of Six Paths. Judging by your face, I take it you've never heard of him. He's considered a legend among shinobi, worshipped as the first and most powerful ninja to ever exist. Long ago, a massive beast roamed the world, a primal creature whose sheer presence shaped the land. It was a being of endless hunger, not for food but for chaos and destruction. Humanity had no defense against it. But then the sage appeared. He battled this monster for days, never resting, until he finally managed to subdue it by doing the impossible. He sealed it inside himself. That act made him the first Jinchuriki. The people, in their gratitude, revered him as a deity. Naruto listened intently, eyes wide as the kyuubi continued. She noticed the way he soaked in every word, something the old Naruto likely wouldn't have done. Clearly, merging with his darker self had unlocked a more reflective and intellectual side of him. After taming the beast, the sage traveled the world, sharing his wisdom and the gift of chakra with others. He spread a belief system he called ninshu, a philosophy rooted in peace and mutual understanding. Sadly, humans corrupted his teachings, turning chakra into a weapon. Thus, ninshu was twisted into the ninjutsu you know today. The kyuubi's voice took on a more solemn tone as she delved deeper. The sage, for all his power, wasn't immortal. He knew that once he died, the beast sealed within him, the 10 tails would be freed and destroy everything again. So before his death, he divided its chakra into 9 entities, giving birth to us, the tailed beasts. The leftover shell of the creature was sealed away and launched into the sky, becoming what you now call the moon. Each of us was given a name and a purpose, to safeguard the balance of the world. We weren't meant to be good or evil, only keepers of equilibrium, but everything changed with his sons. Her voice grew tense. The sage had 2 children. The older one inherited his eyes and was a natural in the spiritual arts. The younger received his body and powerful life force. Though not as innately gifted, he believed in perseverance and kindness. When the sage sought a successor, he asked each son how they would preserve peace. The elder chose power and fear. The younger believed in unity through compassion. The sage sided with the younger, and the elder grew bitter. He challenged his brother. It's unclear who won, but from that day forward, a deep and lasting blood feud was born. The younger was the forefather of the Senju clan, the elder. The Uchiha, Naruto clenched his fists. Of course, damn Uchiha, always so stuck up. They made my life hell when they were still around. No wonder their ancestor was a spoiled brat, he spat. The kyuubi let out a low, amused chuckle. You and I are going to get along just fine, boy. Now, after the sage passed away, my siblings and I went into hiding, quietly fulfilling our duties. Over time, I watched humans grow more brutal, more selfish. The sage's teachings faded into myth. I was sickened by their warmongering, so I secluded myself atop a mountain. That's when he came. The word he dripped with venom. Naruto was startled by the sheer hatred in her expression. That damned Uchiha Madara. He came to me, spouting nonsense about Uchiha superiority. I was ready to reduce him to a stain on the ground, but I made the mistake of meeting his eyes. After that, everything went black. When I awoke, I was on a battlefield, used as a pawn in a fight against the leader of the Senju, Hashirama. I hadn't even gathered my wits before I was sealed into his wife, Uzumaki Maido. My first container. Madara had manipulated me with his Sharingan, I had never felt such rage and humiliation. She paused, seething at the memory. Then, as if it couldn't get worse, Hashirama captured my siblings and distributed them to the other nations like gifts to maintain peace. Peace. He handed us out like tools. He was no better than Madara. Naruto looked stunned, especially at a particular name. Ah, you're curious about Maito, aren't you? She was from your clan, the Uzumaki. They were once a powerful, feared people. Cousins to the Senju. Masters of sealing techniques, skilled with water-style jutsu, and blessed with enormous chakra reserves and accelerated healing. But their power made others nervous. Iwagakure, Kumigakure, and Kirigakure formed a coalition and destroyed Uzushiogakure, their homeland. Few survived. Konoha had brought a young girl to the village before the fall, your mother, Kushina. She was chosen to be my next host. The Kyubai's tone grew bitter, but Maito had already poisoned her mind, warning her that I was a creature of hatred. She treated me like a monster, keeping me shackled in agony. She was hot-headed and rough, definitely a tomboy. Somehow, she fell for that blonde Hokage, Minato. They were happy, and when she became pregnant, they were thrilled. Minato chose your name from a book written by his mentor, Jiraiya. He named you after its main character, Naruto. By now, Naruto was quietly crying, overwhelmed. For the first time in his life, he understood. He knew. His name had meaning. His parents had loved him. The issue stemmed from a critical vulnerability. When a female Jinchuriki goes into labor, the seal confining the beast inside her weakens drastically. To minimize the risk, it was decided that Kushina would give birth in a secure, isolated location. The wife of the third Hokage served as the midwife, being one of the few aware of Kushina's true identity. My recollection of that night is fragmented, but I remember one moment watching your mother give birth, and the next, finding myself bound to a boulder as I was forcefully ripped from her body. Before I could comprehend the situation, I blacked out again. You must understand, when a tailed beast is removed from its host, the host is expected to die. When I came to, I was in the middle of Konoha, driven by pure rage. It only took me seconds to realize what had happened. Another damned Uchiha had taken control of me. The years of resentment I had built up toward that village, and especially toward that cursed clan, boiled over. I unleashed my fury, tearing through everything in sight, until that infuriating fourth Hokage appeared with his massive summoning. That oversized toad pinned me down just long enough for him to carry out his plan. That's when I saw you, laid out on an altar used for rituals. I instantly understood what he intended to do. I tried to stop him, but then chains of pure chakra wrapped around me. I was stunned. Those were your mother's. Despite what should have been her death, she was still alive, still fighting. She held me back so your father could finish the sealing. I made one final attempt to kill you and avoid being sealed again, but both of them threw themselves in front of you. My claw went right through them. It was already too late. He invoked the Reaper Death Seal, a forbidden Fuinjutsu technique that calls forth the Shinigami to imprison anything in exchange for the caster's soul. Your father split my essence, locking away my yin chakra within himself, and sealing my yang chakra inside you. They both passed away not long after. The Ninetales, no, she finished her tale, watching carefully to gauge Naruto's reaction. His response now would shape the course of their future interactions. So that's how you became my container. Do you despise me now? She asked, her voice calm but probing. She needed to assess his resolve, to see if he was truly the one her father had once spoken of. Naruto sat in still silence, trying to process it all. So much had just been revealed. He had a clan, he wasn't the first to house the beast, and now he knew his parents' names at last. I want to hate you, I want to scream about how unfair it all is. But deep down, I know it won't change anything. I know what it feels like to be shunned, to be treated like a freak, to be seen as nothing but a monster. I understand you in ways others can't. If I had the power to change my past, I would. So I can't blame you for wanting freedom after everything you've suffered. I feel guilty for how my mother treated you. I guess I always imagined my parents as these perfect, noble people. But they were just human, weren't they? Capable of mistakes. And while I'm glad my father loved me, I can't pretend it doesn't hurt that I was offered up for the village's sake. It's hard to accept, but it's in the past now. I just have to move forward. So no, I don't hate you, Caillou-chan. He smiled warmly at her, and for the first time in centuries she felt seen not as a weapon or curse but as a being. She smiled back, then her mind caught up to what he said. What did you just call me? She asked, wide-eyed. Well, I can't keep calling you Ninetales, that's just too formal. Since you won't tell me your real name, I figured I'd call you Caillou-chan, he said, smirking cheekily. Don't add Chan to my name, you insolent brat. I'm the great Kyubai no Kitsune. I'm not your childhood friend. You should be addressing me as Kyubai-sama, she yelled, slamming her head against the bars in frustration, as Naruto chuckled at her reaction. Relax, Caillou-chan, you'll pop a blood vessel acting like that, Naruto teased, completely unfazed by her rage. She glared, but he simply grinned wider, which only annoyed her more. I'm starting to regret summoning you in here, she muttered. Oh, don't be like that. We're going to make an awesome team. But first, we need to get your yin chakra back, Naruto said casually, not noticing the stunned and hopeful expression on her face. What did you say? You said your chakra was divided, right? That means you're not whole. After what I went through earlier, I understand what it's like to feel incomplete. So yeah, we're going to find a way to reunite you with the yin half, Naruto replied as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. She watched him in awe. This boy never ceased to surprise her. As noble as that is, it's not something you can accomplish anytime soon. Retrieving my chakra from the Shinigami's belly is a high-level task. You'd need far more knowledge in Fuinjutsu. Right now, you barely qualify as a proper shinobi, she stated flatly. Naruto slumped, a raincloud of self-pity practically forming over his head. She couldn't help but chuckle softly. I know I should have trained harder. I keep thinking maybe if I had been stronger, Haku-chan might still be alive, he murmured. Her ears twitched. She remembered the girl. His pain was real, and it stirred something unfamiliar in her heart. Pushing the feeling aside, she spoke gently. Don't lose yourself in regret, Naruto. She wouldn't have wanted that. The past is done. What matters now is how you move forward. You have potential, immense potential, you just need to apply it. He gave her a thankful smile. That's the first time you've called me by my name, he noted happily, to her annoyance. What did you mean by tools, though? You already have a technique that can make you grow faster than any shinobi alive. Most overlook it, but it's uniquely effective for someone like you, she said, shaking her head. The shadow clone technique, Cage Bunshin. Unlike standard clones, your type pass their memories back when they're dispelled. Originally meant for intelligence gathering, but with your absurd chakra reserves and rapid healing, it's perfect for accelerated training. Say you make 10 clones, what would take 10 days you can learn in one. Make 100, and you'll advance in ways normal shinobi can't even dream of. This jutsu can make you unstoppable. Naruto's eyes widened. He thought back to his battles, realizing the flashes of instinct might have actually been clone memories he'd dismissed. A slow, sinister grin crept across his face. The Kyuubi sweat dropped as he chuckled menacingly to himself. Eventually, he sobered and gave her a serious look. Not that I don't appreciate the insight, but why help me like this? He asked, clearly more wary now. No matter what you humans say, I'm not some rabid animal, she said. I know that, but why be so cooperative? He pressed. Because whether I like it or not, our fates are tied together. If you die, I die. And if that happens, I end up trapped in the Shinigami's belly with the other half of my chakra. It's better for both of us if you get stronger. Especially with that manipulative Uchiha still out there, and others who would see both of us destroyed. You have a role to play in what's to come, and I refuse to let my container be weak. You represent me now, so you must rise above them all as my chosen vessel. So, we're pals. I'd be happy to be your friend, Caillou-chan, Naruto concluded with a satisfied nod, as though he'd just uncovered some profound truth. The Kyuubi could only stare at him in disbelief. That wasn't what she meant at all. I'm not your friend, you foolish child. If I could get to you, I'd tear you apart, you pathetic mortal. And don't call me Caillou-chan. The Kyuubi bellowed in fury, causing Naruto to flash her a serene smile, which only served to irritate her further. You're so upset, Caillou-chan. You really should calm down sometimes. Oh, speaking of which, I've noticed something odd. Lately, I seem to be able to pick up on the emotions of people around me. What's going on with that? Naruto asked. The Kyuubi, finally managing to calm herself, smirked at him. That's a unique power granted to my hosts when they attune themselves to my chakra. It's called negative emotion sensing. You unlocked it when you briefly synchronized with my chakra on that bridge, right after that little runt threatened your companion. Normally, you'd give in to the hatred and end up enveloped by a corrosive chakra aura, but you balanced it out, intentionally or not. This created the perfect conditions for you to unlock this ability. It's the highest level of sensory perception in existence. With proper control, nothing can escape your awareness. The Kyuubi boasted, a smug tone in her voice. Naruto, gazing up at her with awe, made her pride swell even more. Whoa, that's amazing, Caillou-chan. This will be so helpful in my training. No more worrying about anyone spying on me once we get back to Konoha. I've got to ramp up my training to get to the right level. Thankfully, I've got Zabuza and Haku-chan's equipment, not to mention their scrolls. Plus, with the Cage Bunshin to assist in my training, I should make good progress. The only thing I need to focus on is building up my physical strength. I've got to grow taller and bulk up, Naruto said, his tone serious. The Kyuubi, though irritated by the nickname he insisted on calling her, chose to ignore it for now and focus on the bigger issues. It's all that ramen you've been eating that stunted your growth. I don't blame you, considering how difficult it was to get decent food, but now that you're a shinobi, it's time to hunt for your own meals. It will help you improve your tracking and trap setting skills, and you'll actually get real food. By eating properly, I can make sure your body gets the nutrients it needs to correct the malnutrition and stunted growth. Once that's fixed, just keep eating healthy and you'll naturally grow strong. The Kyuubi explained, making Naruto give her a tearfully grateful smile. She sighed, shaking her head at his emotional display. Also, you've got an advantage when it comes to physical training. With your Uzumaki heritage and my chakra, your healing rate is faster than most. What would take others weeks or months to recover from, you heal from overnight. So as you tear your muscles and let them heal, you're strengthening your body, making it stronger and more durable, increasing your physical abilities to unnatural levels. The Kyuubi finished. Naruto remained silent, his eyes giving nothing away, which made her feel uneasy. I love you, Kyu-chan, he declared with finality, causing the Kyuubi to sputter and blush furiously, the crimson fur around her glowing with embarrassment. Wah, what are you saying, you insufferable monkey? Stop being a fool, just get out of here, I don't want to see your face. The Kyuubi protested, though Naruto thought it was rather endearing in its own way. Who knew Kyu-chan was such a tsundere? This is going to be fun. Naruto thought with an evil grin, sending a shiver down the Kyuubi's spine. Phew, we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we'll reach the top together. The world won't know what hit it when we're done. Are you with me, Kyu-chan? Naruto shouted, pumping his fist toward the sky. The Kyuubi sighed, already dreading the long road ahead with her unpredictable host, but she couldn't help but smile to herself. There was something about him that made it all worthwhile. HMPH, I knew there was a reason you're my favorite host, and stop calling me Kyoyuchan. The Kyuubi roared, while Naruto just laughed at her antics, feeling grateful for the friend he had made. This was his second friend, after Haku-chan, and it made him feel good to know he had someone to rely on. You need to get your chakra control in order. Even though you've completed the tree-walking exercise, your control is still lacking. There's also the water-walking technique you found in Zabuza's scrolls, along with the kunai and senbon balancing drills from your teammates' scrolls that could boost your control. You could even combine some of these methods to increase difficulty and results. The granddaughter of the tree huggers was said to have the finest chakra control in the elemental nations. You might want to look into her training methods, as well as those of the Uryonin, since their training requires near-perfect chakra control, suggested the Kyuubi. Are you talking about Senjutsu-nate, one of the legendary Sannin? I could ask Jiji, but I'd rather not have him or his subordinates poking around my training, and I doubt the hospital will let me see their methods. Naruto pointed out. The Kyuubi facepalmed. Why on earth would you need permission? Aren't you a shinobi? Just sneak in and take the information. You're good at stealth and infiltration. After all, weren't you the brat who broke into the Hawkage Tower and swiped the forbidden scroll of seals without anyone realizing until later? You've also pranked the major clans, including the all-seeing Hyuga, and infiltrated the ANBU headquarters, a place that's supposed to be top secret, all while wearing a bright orange jumpsuit. It's only because of that one guy with the scar on his face that you even got caught, and that was because he was specifically looking for you after you skipped class. Now that you can roam freely, plus with your negative emotions sensing ability, you can easily avoid getting caught. Do the same with the Shinobi Library. If they won't let you in, sneak in and take what you need. The Kyuubi argued. Naruto grinned at the praise, reminiscing about some of his past exploits. I guess I forgot about that. I've been so focused on trying to be a hero that I forgot what job I actually have. They really need to stop filling our heads with all those heroic tales about saving princesses and stuff. But now that you mention it, I can get in and out without trouble. The Kage Bunshin no Jutsu will definitely help here. I can cause a distraction with a regular prank, pull the ANBU away, and my clones can sneak in and grab what I need for training. Damn, that's a solid plan. Plus, with the new black clothes from Zabuza's stash, it'll be even easier. Phew, this is going to be fun. He chuckled ominously. But first, I need to figure out my chakra nature, so I have a baseline for what I need. Remember those paper squares you found in their stuff? Humans call it chakra paper. When you channel chakra through it, the paper reacts differently depending on your nature. If it burns, it's fire. If it gets damp, it's water. If it crumbles, it's earth. If it crinkles, it's lightning. If it splits, it's wind. The Kyuubi answered. Silence filled the air as Naruto processed her words. Is it weird that I imagined you with glasses and a pointer when you explained that? If you were human, I'd probably picture you in some sexy teacher cosplay. Naruto teased, causing the Kyuubi to blush, even in her fur. How do you even know all this stuff? He asked. HMPH, you forget that I was sealed into two of the most powerful kunoichi this pathetic village has ever seen, even if I can't stand them. Plus, they were both wives of the Hawkage. I'm a treasure trove of information, my dear host. In fact, from now on you should call me Kyuubi-sensei. she said, pride dripping from her voice. Yeah, nice try, Caillou-chan, but no dice, Naruto replied, causing her to tusk in annoyance. Meanwhile, Naruto rummaged through his hidden stash before finally finding what he was looking for. Aha, okay, time to try this, he said, channeling chakra through the paper, which immediately split in half, both sides soaking with water. The edges also crinkled. Both he and the Kyuubi fell silent as they analyzed the result. Well, it looks like you have a strong affinity for both Futon and Suton. Not surprising, since your father had a strong wind nature, and the Uzumaki clan was known for their affinity with water. That little crinkling at the end, though, it seems you also have a minor lightning affinity. Interesting, the Kyuubi commented. Are you really going to ignore the fact that I have strong affinities for the elements, and I just happen to have a ton of jutsu scrolls related to them? Naruto deadpanned. Meh, sometimes luck is on your side. When that happens, you have to take full advantage of it. The Kyuubi replied nonchalantly. Naruto nearly spit out his drink. I've spent enough time with the nice ladies at the brothel to roughly translate that to mean, make the most of it when things go your way, right? He asked, smirking. Give that boy a prize. Now stop complaining. You have work to do. Put together a plan to infiltrate the Shinobi library and get what you need for your training. You should do that before hitting the hospital, since the advanced chakra control exercises might be in the library. If not, we can always raid the hospital. Also, grab some blank scrolls and sealing scrolls. People will notice if things go missing, so with your clones, you can copy everything you need and seal it away before making a quick exit. The Kyuubi advised. Then, remembering something, she asked, did you just compare me to a prostitute? Good plan, Caillou-chan. Guess I can put the prank diversion on hold for now. I'll spend a few days scouting out the library first to get the layout and security details. Naruto replied, intentionally avoiding the question, much to her irritation. Scene change. 3 days had passed since Naruto's return to Konoha. Team 7 had fallen into their usual routine, wasting time waiting for Kakashi-sensei in the mornings, performing a D-rank mission, and finishing their day with training that amounted to teamwork drills. As for Naruto, life continued as usual, though with a few subtle differences. He was quieter than before, and his team didn't question it, grateful for the silence. He also stopped calling Sakura-chan, and ceased pestering her for dates. She didn't seem to notice, lost in her fantasies of Sasuke. Sasuke, too, was wrapped up in thoughts of avenging his family, now that he had unlocked the Sharingan. Kakashi didn't comment if he noticed the changes. What his teammates didn't know was that Naruto had a small army of clones working tirelessly in the secluded training ground 41, near the Forest of Death. He'd heard rumors that the ground was abandoned, making it the perfect spot for training. Over 300 clones were stationed there, 100 practicing water walking, another 100 focused on Shunshin no Jutsu, and the remaining 100 working on Kawarami no Jutsu. While he intended to master chakra control first, the benefits of Shunshin for quick escapes made it too useful to ignore. Within 2 days, his clones perfected water walking, allowing him to maintain it for hours, even in combat situations. It was a small victory, but a good sign that the Kage Bunshin method worked. He planned to move on to Kunai and Senbon balancing next. Shunshin was trickier. While he could perform it, it wasn't yet as flawless as he wanted. He decided to keep his clones working on it until it became instinctive and seal-less, like Kawarami. Though not as polished as Kakashi's, it was better than most his age. He'd continue working on it until it became second nature. Thanks to his training method, he knew he'd master both jutsu in a matter of days. Tonight was the night he planned to infiltrate the Shinobi library to gather the information he needed. He walked back to his apartment, thinking things over when his tenant spoke up. So, I noticed you didn't ask your precious Sakura-chan out today again, she teased. I guess you're right. But after what happened at the wave, I'm not sure if I'm ready for a relationship yet. Haku-chan was a sweetheart, kind, beautiful, and supportive, comparing her to Sakura. It's like comparing a polished diamond to a lump of coal, Naruto remarked. The Kyuubi sighed but understood. What happened in the wave changed you, didn't it? She asked softly. I didn't know what real love was before. I thought I was just trying to get attention, but now I know the difference. Sakura was just a way for me to feel acknowledged, even if it was negative attention. Now that I've experienced what real love feels like, I don't need her validation. So I'm done with that pink-haired girl. Kakashi can deal with her, he explained. The Kyuubi nodded, pleased he was no longer chasing after someone who didn't deserve him. Scene change, the moon hung high in the sky as a lone figure moved with precision through the library, almost invisible in the darkness. Naruto couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment at how easy it was to slip inside. You'd think infiltrating one of the most critical locations in a shinobi village would be more difficult, but the lack of proper security was almost laughable. Konoha, in its arrogance, had grown far too complacent. After winning 3 world wars, they probably believed no one would dare challenge them. The village's pride and the arrogance of both shinobi and civilians disgusted him, yet oddly enough, it worked to his advantage, granting him unfettered access to the shinobi section of the library. He had a few hours before dawn to work. With that in mind, he created 30 shadow clones, each sent to different sections to gather and replicate the materials he needed. His primary focus was on chakra control techniques, exercises for manipulating futon, suton, and reiten, and learning new reiten ninjutsu. He was also looking for a taijutsu style that would be fast and unpredictable. Furthermore, he planned to explore some civilian subjects like mathematics, history, anatomy, chemistry, and politics, everything that might be of use. Fortunately, the library had multiple copies of many books, which allowed him to gather what he needed without attracting attention. Though genjutsu wasn't at the top of his list, he would still collect anything that seemed useful. The most important task was fuinjutsu. After learning more about his clan, and understanding the importance of aiding Kaiu-chan's recovery, mastering this art became a top priority. So he and his clones set to work, not entirely sure of what they were picking, but trusting that their choices would be beneficial. After all, they were all extensions of himself. 5 hours later, as the first rays of dawn began to filter in through the windows, Naruto finished his mission. He carefully returned the scrolls and sealed away his clones before slipping out of the library and heading back to his apartment. Well, that was way easier than I thought. Actually, it was kind of pathetic. You'd think the strongest village in the world would have better security. Oh well, I can't complain. I've got a nice stash now, and if I need more I can always come back. He grinned. True, it's almost comical. Ha, serves you right, Konoha, that's what you get for sealing me away. Kaiu-chan teased and Naruto chuckled. Her playful banter never got old. Alright, let's see what we've got. The civilian books will be easy to go through. I'll assign a few clones to work on them daily. Shouldn't take more than a month to finish them all, he said to himself. Focus on anatomy and laws first. They'll help with your shinobi career more than the rest. Not that the other subjects aren't useful, but those are priorities. Kaiu-chan suggested. Yeah, you're right. Those council idiots are always trying to impose more restrictions on us. Might as well get ahead of them. Chakra control, water gliding, haven't tried that yet. Sounds fun. Some of this stuff is familiar. Balancing kunai and senbon on my fingers. Ouch, that's gonna hurt. Good thing I have shadow clones. Separating colored powders using chakra, tricky but doable. Naruto muttered, flipping through his notes. Here's a training method for elemental jutsu. For wind, you've got to cut a leaf with chakra, then you need to split a waterfall. Who comes up with this stuff? Water's simple though. Drench paper with chakra, create whirlpools of various sizes. Easy enough. For lightning, I have to light a bulb with lightning chakra. Wow, that's gonna get pricey. I'll just take the bulbs if I have to. He mused, causing Kaiu-chan to facepalm. Wait, why'd they copy down futonjutsu? I already know some of these. Hold on, what's this? Vacuum manipulation? Interesting. Naruto muttered, intrigued by a new find. Ooh, they even included a genjutsu. Looks like it consumes a lot of chakra, but that's perfect for me. Once I get my control down, I can work with this. It'll be a nice surprise for everyone who thinks I have no genjutsu talent. He smirked. I can teach you one of my illusions too. Even though I'm just chakra and not an actual fox, I still carry their trickster nature. Using my chakra, you can create one of my favorite illusions. Kaiu-chan offered. Thanks, Kaiu-chan, but I'd prefer to keep it under wraps for now. If people find out I'm using your chakra, it'll raise too many questions. Maybe later, once they start training me to use it. Then I'll have an excuse. Naruto replied, thinking it through. Don't worry. Since you've accepted your darker side and I'm not directly influencing you, there's a semi-synchronization between us. The seal still prevents full synchronization, but drawing on my chakra will give you a purer version. No negative effects, and it won't feel ominous unless you want it to. Kaiu-chan reassured him. Sweet. That makes things a lot easier. But for now, I want to focus on boosting my own power. Maybe in a year or two, we can sync up more. For now, I'll treat your chakra as a last resort. Naruto decided, and Kaiu-chan agreed. As expected, taijutsu's going to be a challenge. Weights and resistance seals will help, but I need the right style to maximize my potential. Goken looks good, but it's too rigid. I want something more unpredictable, he said, scratching his head. Why not create your own style? It won't be too difficult if you understand your body well enough. You could base it on another style and adapt it. Kaiu-chan suggested. That's brilliant, Kaiu-chan, you're a genius. Naruto cheered, causing Kaiu-chan to get flustered. Stop it. Quit saying embarrassing things like that, she shouted, her face turning red. Haha, you're cute when you're flustered. Anyway, these non-elemental jutsu look useful. Shuriken Kage Bunshin and Bunshin Debakuha, those will be great additions. With my Cage Bunshin experience, I should learn them fast. Weirdly, my clones also copied the seals for Kuchios no Jutsu, but I don't have any summons, so that's pointless. Actually, I can help with that. Just learn the hand seals and I'll explain later. Kayu-chan said, her tone mysterious. Okay, strange but sure, I really want to dive deep into Fuinjutsu. There's so much to go through. I want to be at an intermediate level in the next few months. As for Kenjutsu, I need to find a blacksmith who's not biased against me in this damn village to forge me a sword. I've got a design in mind. But that's later. First, I'll focus on the kata. Naruto said, but Kayu-chan had a different concern. That's fine and all, but there's something much more urgent we need to address. She said seriously. What is it? Naruto asked, noticing the shift in her tone. I refuse to let you wear that hideous jumpsuit any longer, Kayu-chan declared. Naruto groaned. What now, Kayu-chan? I thought you had something important to say. This is important. As a woman with great taste, that jumpsuit is an offense to all things beautiful. I won't let you wear such ugly clothes, Kayu-chan insisted. Naruto glanced at the jumpsuit on his bed, then back at Kayu-chan. Maybe she has a point. He unsealed the clothes he scavenged from Zabuza's hideout. Some didn't fit him, probably taken from his victims. He picked a few pieces and asked for Kayu-chan's opinion. What do you think? He asked. Not bad. It offers good mobility and blends in well. Traditional clothes would suit you better. Leave one side loose for style, and add a sash around your waist. The snowflakes at the bottom are a nice touch. It's also good that there are extra pairs. Just don't wear it until you're skilled enough in Fuinjutsu to add durability and self-repair seals. She advised. Thanks, Kayu-chan, I actually look forward to wearing it now. It looks awesome. Do you think I should grow my hair out? Naruto asked. Shoulder length may be a bit shaggy. It'll match the outfit perfectly, she suggested. Sweet. I'll work on that later. For now, I'll get some rest before meeting my team. I'll send out clones to start training. Time to aim for the top, he said with a yawn, collapsing onto his bed and falling asleep. Kayu-chan shook her head before drifting off herself, dreaming of chasing delicious rabbits. However, ever since that pivotal mission, Kakashi had noticed a shift in Naruto. It wasn't immediately obvious. At first, he simply seemed to be more withdrawn, a behavior Kakashi attributed to the trauma he'd endured. Yet, over time, the transformation became undeniable. Naruto appeared far calmer now, moving with a fluid grace that contrasted with his earlier clumsiness. His posture had improved, and he emanated an almost unspoken confidence. His temper, too, had mellowed. In the past, when Sasuke would finish a task or showcase his progress, he would often taunt Naruto, goading him into angry outbursts. But now, Naruto only smiled warmly and complimented Sasuke in a way that was so genuine, it almost seemed patronizing. This change irritated Sasuke, who could no longer provoke Naruto into reacting the way he once did. Sakura's behavior, however, was even more troubling. After missions and training sessions, she would typically beg Sasuke for a date, only to be coldly rejected, bruising her ego. Naruto, always the selfless one, would offer his own invitation. And though Sakura would refuse him just as harshly, sometimes with cruel words, it was clear she appreciated the attention. But recently, after Sasuke's rejection, Sakura would brace herself to dismiss Naruto's offer as well, only to find him walking away without a care. It seemed that without Naruto's constant pursuit, Sakura had begun questioning her own worth. Her self-assurance was slipping, and she continued to mask her insecurities with feigned strength, but her team had begun to ignore her tantrums, further highlighting her isolation. Kakashi was concerned. While Naruto had become more composed and cooperative during missions, his transformation was straining the already fragile dynamics within Team 7. Kakashi didn't blame him, though Naruto was maturing in a way that Sasuke and Sakura hadn't yet. They were still tethered to their former selves, relying on past achievements rather than forging new paths forward. Kakashi considered talking to Naruto, but he quickly realized how foolish it would sound to ask Naruto to return to being the target of abuse just for the sake of maintaining team harmony. That would make him a hypocrite. Kakashi also observed that Naruto had grown significantly taller in recent months, now just slightly shorter than Sasuke, who used to be the tallest of the group. Naruto's physical changes didn't go unnoticed by Kakashi's sharp eyes, especially the subtle definition of muscle beneath his orange jumpsuit. It was clear Naruto had been training on his own, and Kakashi couldn't fault him for that. He took a more hands-off approach with his students. Still, he reported it to the Sandaime, just to be sure. The Hokage dismissed it, noting that there was nothing wrong with improving one's abilities. As Kakashi continued to reflect on the team's situation, he was unsure how to move forward. Teamwork drills weren't enough to solve the underlying tension, and with the chunin exams approaching, he began to think that the live combat of the exams might be exactly what the team needed to strengthen their bond. He was confident that Naruto and Sasuke could handle themselves, and their combined efforts would likely pull Sakura through as well. Kakashi, with his experience of war, understood the power of such trials in shaping a shinobi's future. He would have to trust his team and hope that they would come out stronger. Scene change while Kakashi mulled over the fate of his students. Naruto was in his apartment, staring down at a pile of items, all destined for a metal drum. Memories flashed before him, memories of running from angry shopkeepers, teachers, ANBU agents, and even the Hyuga clan. He'd certainly made a lot of people angry over the years, but he wasn't one to dwell on the past. Shaking off the thoughts, he returned his focus to the odd ritual he was about to complete. Taking a moment of silence, he closed his eyes and prepared to bid farewell to an old friend. This is ridiculous. It's just a bunch of ugly orange jumpsuits. The Kyuubi, his tenant, grumbled in frustration. She was forced to watch as Naruto went through what she deemed an absurd ceremony, burning the items he'd considered old friends for years. She couldn't believe she was even involved in this madness. What had she gotten herself into? Despite her annoyance, the Kyuubi had grown to appreciate Naruto's company. He always made time to talk with her, even about the most nonsensical things. He treated her as though they had known each other for years, sharing a bond she never thought possible with someone like him. She'd never admit it aloud, but there were moments when she enjoyed their conversations. She wasn't sure when it happened, but she began to value his presence. Naruto's voice broke through her musings as he sarcastically addressed her. "Oh, come on, Kayu-chan. This is a farewell to an old friend, one that's been with me through thick and thin. You wouldn't understand. You've lost it. Seriously, this is too much. I'm going to go insane watching you do this." The Kyuubi snapped, but her irritation didn't stop Naruto from continuing his theatrics, much to her exasperation. He lamented the loss of his beloved orange jumpsuit, his dramatic farewell accompanied by fake tears and exaggerated sniffles. The Kyuubi just watched, unimpressed. When it was over, the drum was empty, and Naruto's apartment looked spotless once more. He smirked at her. "Done with my little ceremony, Kayu-chan." "What?" the Kyuubi stuttered, completely baffled. "Fufu. I cleaned up while you were busy plotting my demise." Naruto grinned as he retrieved his new outfit, the one he'd picked out with Kayu-chan months ago. After months of intense training, Naruto was proud of how far he had come. His chakra control was vastly improved, his ninjutsu had reached new heights, and his elemental techniques were becoming smoother and more efficient. While he'd never be on the level of a specialist, he was satisfied with his progress. The new jutsu he'd developed, including a few lightning techniques, made him excited for what was to come. He had successfully mastered the advanced genjutsu he had found in the library, realizing its immense value, especially against opponents with daojutsu. The technique that Kayu-chan had taught him still needed refinement, but was nearly battle-ready should the need arise. His kenjutsu had progressed fairly well. Although he wasn't a master swordsman, he had enough skill to take on mid-level foes, especially when he infused his blade with Futon chakra. Against a seasoned kenjutsu expert, however, he doubted his chances. He was aware he needed a proper teacher. After all, there's only so much one can gain from scrolls. He had lucked out when a group of traveling merchants came to Konoha about 2 months ago. Among them was a respected blacksmith, and with a generous payment, Naruto convinced him to melt down several blades made from chakra-conductive metal he had supplied, and forge a sword designed with Kayu-chan's guidance. The result was a weapon he was more than pleased with. Following Kayu-chan's advice, Naruto had also crafted his own taijutsu style, blending the Goken base with more fluid and unpredictable movements. Though still imperfect, it was close enough to his ideal that he was quite proud. His intense weight training had sculpted his body, making it compact with muscle, ideal for both speed and power. However, his greatest satisfaction came from his progress in Fuinjutsu. Naruto had always been skilled with his hands, evident from his gardening talent, and his dexterity had been honed by years of pranks, writing, and painting. Most people didn't know it, but his calligraphy was surprisingly precise. It didn't take much to elevate his skill to an exceptional level with the help of his clones. His Uzumaki heritage came into play as well, especially in sealing. What others found incomprehensible, Naruto saw as simple puzzles. He picked it up at a startling pace, mastering everything from basic storage seals to explosive ones, his personal favorite, security seals, containment seals, and even complex seals for self-repair, durability, and cleaning for his clothes and furniture. Though he'd never claimed to rival a master like Uzumaki Mito, he was confident that in a few years, he could reach that level. Except for Jiraiya, he believed he was likely the best at Fuinjutsu in all of Konoha. He found it baffling that so many overlooked the importance of such a vital skill. Their loss, he thought. Despite his achievements, he never allowed himself to grow complacent, ensuring his skills remained sharp with daily practice. He made sure not to reveal his progress to his team, not wanting to draw attention from them, the civilian council, or the Hokage. Kakashi had probably noticed his physical changes, but so far, he hadn't mentioned anything. 1 week from now, he knew, a significant event would take place: the chunin exams. His knowledge of this came from a secret side project. After successfully infiltrating the Konoha Library, one of the most secure locations in the village, he decided to make use of his unparalleled stealth and sensory abilities to set up his own spy network. Using clones, he had them infiltrate key places like the homes of civilian council members, the Jounin Lounge, ANBU HQ, popular shinobi bars, and other locations that might offer useful intel. It bordered on treason, but given the number of people in the village who held animosity toward him, he wasn't taking any chances. His efforts paid off, as he not only gathered valuable information, but also acquired blackmail material. He had dirt on the influential people, especially the civilians, affairs, illegal deals, drug trafficking, and more. With this leverage, he had the power to ruin their lives if they dared to target him. Once dressed in his new outfit, much to Kyubai's delight, who praised his appearance, he made his way to the usual meeting spot for his team. Knowing Kakashi, he was sure the lazy sensei would nominate them for the exam, seeing it as a sink or swim test. Scene change, it was just a few minutes past 9 a.m., and the more troublesome members of Team 7 stood at their regular meeting point. They were far from happy, having been asked to meet at 7 a.m., almost 2 hours ago. While they should have grown accustomed to Kakashi's tardiness, it still irritated them to no end. As they stood around, fidgeting impatiently, the one teammate who had yet to arrive made them even more uncomfortable. Sasuke didn't particularly care about Naruto, but his recent behavior unsettled the last of the Uchiha. Normally, he could get a rise out of the blonde, but lately, Naruto had been eerily calm, responding to Sasuke's provocations with nothing but composed smiles. It grated on Sasuke's nerves, and he found himself wanting to put Naruto in his place. Sakura was in turmoil. For years, she had done everything to push Naruto away, seeing him as nothing more than an obstacle to her affections for Sasuke. But now that he had stopped chasing her, she had begun to question herself. She missed the attention he used to give her. His unwavering pursuit had once made her feel special, but now, without it, she felt unsure of herself. The gap between her and her two teammates had only grown, as both Naruto and Sasuke were strong fighters, while she felt like a hindrance. She began to wonder if rejecting Naruto all those times had been a mistake. No, she thought, her face flushing. Sasuke-kun is the one for me. Naruto Baka will come crawling back soon enough. Good morning, team. A smooth, calm voice greeted them. They turned to see Naruto, his voice different now, smoother, with a refined quality that felt oddly pleasant to listen to. Sakura, despite herself, found it almost attractive. But knowing it was Naruto, she quickly dismissed the thought. As they looked at him, they realized how different he looked. Gone was the blinding neon orange. Now he wore a white yukata with blue snowflake patterns at the edges, a belt with a leaf hitayate as the buckle, and black boots. His hair was longer, shoulder-length with bangs framing his face, giving him a much more mature appearance. He had also grown taller, standing a few inches above Sasuke without the added height of his boots. Sakura's heart skipped a beat as she noticed how handsome he had become. Sakura couldn't help but notice a bit of drool escaping the corner of her mouth. It was unbelievable that the usually goofy blonde had transformed into someone this striking without her realizing it. Had he looked this appealing when he first pestered her for dates, she might have been more inclined to consider it. She slapped her cheeks, snapping herself out of the daydream. No, she only had eyes for her Sasuke-kun. CHAA. That blonde looks irresistible. Forget that emo guy. I'd much rather ride on blondies. She quickly shut down that thought, blushing deeply. She needed to regain control. Oi, Dobi. What's with the outfit? Sasuke questioned in his usual apathetic tone. Yeah, Naruto Baka, are you trying to look like Sasuke-kun? It won't make me go on a date with you, she screeched, her fangirl instincts taking over once Sasuke's voice reached her ears, much to the annoyance of Inner. Naruto found their reactions to his simple change of clothes amusing. He almost felt sorry for them. They had so much more to learn. Sakura still believed Sasuke would swoop in and rescue her whenever danger came knocking. Sasuke, on the other hand, was convinced that being an Uchiha made him inherently better than everyone else. Yet, when someone outdid him, he became consumed by jealousy and insecurity. His inferiority complex clashed with his superiority complex. The only reason he was hailed as a prodigy was due to being the last Uchiha in the village. Had his clan still been around, he'd probably be seen as just another average shinobi. Naruto knew that Sasuke had only recently awakened his Sharingan, whereas others in the Uchiha clan had done so long before hitting double digits. The constant praise had inflated his ego, making him believe he was untouchable. Naruto had no doubt he could wipe the floor with Sasuke in a heartbeat. Not only did he believe he was more skilled now, but it was far too easy to get under Sasuke's skin. The guy was a mess of emotions, especially when the name Itachi came up. Naruto often wondered what the Hokage had been thinking letting someone so unstable become a shinobi. They're designed to keep you warm and shielded, not to mention maintain a level of modesty, Naruto explained with a calm, almost too polite smile. As for why I'm wearing new clothes. Simply put, my old ones no longer fit. I just felt drawn to this outfit. I didn't realize you had such an interest in fashion, Sasuke-san. Maybe our fashion expert Yamanaka, Ino would appreciate knowing you share her passion. His voice was pleasant, but the glint of amusement in his eyes only served to infuriate Sasuke even more. If it had been the old Naruto, he would have exploded, shouting and throwing insults. But now, he seemed to be enjoying toying with Sasuke in a way that was much worse. Sasuke's mind whirled as he processed Naruto's words. The idea of one of the most dedicated Sasuke fangirls, possibly thinking she shared an interest with him, made him pale. He shook his head violently, retreating into his usual brooding silence. Now, instead of simply imagining Itachi, his traitorous teammate had also joined the ranks of his brother in fueling his fantasies of revenge. And Sakura-san, Naruto continued, his voice unwavering, I can assure you, I have absolutely no interest in asking you out on a date. So you need not worry about that. He said it calmly, almost kindly, but the effect it had on Sakura was immediate. She felt a heavy blow to her ego. Naruto had just rejected her, and she hadn't even asked him. The fact that he looked so appealing now only made it worse. Why wasn't he interested in her anymore? Was she not pretty enough? Was her forehead too big? These were the kinds of thoughts that plagued her as she struggled to keep herself together. She wished things could go back to how they were before. She was happier then. Naruto tuned out the chaos of his teammates' emotional turmoil. While he would still work with them and protect them on missions, he had no desire to get any closer than absolutely necessary. Instead, he admired his new outfit, appreciating its comfort and flexibility. And even he couldn't deny he looked good in it. Thanks to the durability, self-repair, and cleaning seals he'd inscribed on his clothes, he didn't worry about damage too much. Seals had truly become his secret weapon, making it easier to carry his gear, too. Instead of bulky holsters, he'd engraved modified storage seals on his forearms, making weapons accessible with a simple motion. The seals were invisible, sunk into his skin, giving him a slight advantage in surprise attacks. He'd also placed resistance seals on his body to maintain his physical training even when doing mundane things like walking. He was currently at level 6 out of 10 in terms of strength and endurance. Each day, he'd let the seals fade at night to reacquaint himself with his body, ensuring it remained in sync with his mind. His physical abilities had become nearly inhuman, thanks to months of intense training. But Naruto knew better than to get too cocky. His power was immense, but his experience was still limited. He also knew, as a master prankster, that a well-timed trap could bring down even the strongest opponents. He was reminded of this every day by the Kyuubi, who made sure he didn't get too full of himself. That was one lesson he was glad to have learned. His senses picked up the familiar chakra signature of an approaching presence. With his enhanced abilities, he doubted anyone in Konoha could sense movements better than him. Poof, his teammates' attention was immediately drawn to the newcomer, and it wasn't hard to guess who it was. Good morning, my cute little Genins, Kakashi greeted, his voice dripping with that signature condescension. Sakura and Sasuke both glared at him, annoyed that he was 3 hours late once again. You're late, Sakura yelled, cutting him off. It had almost become a team tradition by now. Kakashi chuckled inwardly at their responses. Messing with them was one of his greatest joys. Well, team, we've got a day of missions ahead. He paused when his gaze landed on Naruto. His eyes quickly cataloged the differences in his student's appearance. Naruto resembled Minato-sensei to some degree, but with his own unique style, almost like his mother's. Kakashi had to admit, the change looked good on him. It was a vast improvement from the orange jumpsuit. Well, Naruto, you're certainly looking different today. Nice choice, Kakashi commented, giving a thumbs up. Ara, thank you for your kind words, Kakashi-sensei. I'm glad you find my attire acceptable, Naruto replied with a serene smile. Kakashi sweat dropped, realizing just how polite and calm Naruto had become. He sometimes couldn't tell if the boy was being sarcastic or not. Knowing Naruto, he probably was, just to mess with people. Anyway, let's get some missions done, Kakashi said, guiding them to the mission center. Scene change. After a long day of missions, Team 7 gathered at their usual spot. Kakashi was going over their performances when he noticed a messenger eagle approaching. Recognizing what it meant, he excused his students and rushed off to the Hokage Tower. Naruto, who had been paying attention, smirked slightly, already anticipating what would happen the next day. Sasuke-kun, would you like to grab lunch? We could work on strengthening our teamwork, Sakura asked hesitantly. But Sasuke didn't even spare her a glance. HMPH, if you have time to waste, you should go practice a jutsu. Honestly, your skills are still beneath Naruto's. Go figure out how not to be so useless, he said coldly. Sakura's shoulders slumped, her confidence shattered. His words cut deeper than she wanted to admit. She instinctively turned to reject Naruto's offer, only to find him walking away. She forgot that he no longer seemed interested in her. It stung more than she expected. Naruto, however, was simply enjoying a casual walk through the village, paying no mind to the stares from others. Some were curious, some were lustful, and some were hostile. He sighed when he noticed the poorly disguised rock trailing him. He turned, his deadpan expression saying everything as he addressed the rock. Konohamaru, what are you up to? He asked. I should have known better than to expect anything different from the one I have high hopes for, my rival, came the muffled response from the rock before it began to glow. Boom! The explosion sent a large cloud of smoke into the air. A fit of coughing could be heard, and Naruto could make out the figures of 3 kids lying on the ground. Hey, you overdid it with the explosives, Konohamaru said to his friend, still coughing. Naruto noticed all 3 kids were wearing the same type of goggles he used to wear when he was in the academy. The kids froze as they noticed Naruto, watching them with a blank expression. The 2 groups stood still for a few moments, before the kids suddenly jumped into action. The one with the charisma of a grown-up, and the kunoichi from the senior class, Mogi, declared the girl with bright orange hair styled in high pigtails and a constant blush on her face, striking a strange pose. The one who loves numbers and calculations, Udon, followed the plain boy wearing glasses and a runny nose, also striking a weird pose. This village's top genius ninja, Konohamaru shouted, also taking on a bizarre pose. The 3 of us are the Konohamaru Corps. All 3 of them shouted together, maintaining their poses. A few seconds of silence passed. Naruto could hear Kaiu-chan laughing in his mind. A drop of sweat trickled down his face as he wasn't sure how to react. He wondered if he had been this ridiculous when he was younger, and quickly pushed the thought away. It wasn't something he wanted to dwell on. He decided to ignore their strange introduction. Hey Konohamaru, long time no see. Looks like you've made some new friends, Naruto greeted warmly. His tone was different from his usual teasing manner, it was sincere. He really liked Konohamaru. The kid never judged him and treated him like a regular person, unlike most others in the village. Yeah, this is Mogi and Udon. We're in the same class at the academy, Konohamaru introduced. Nice to meet you both. Any friend of Konohamaru is a friend of mine, Naruto said kindly. Konohamaru and Udon grinned widely, while Mogi blushed shyly at Naruto's cool and charming demeanor. By the way, why are you all wearing those goggles? Hee hee, so you noticed. We're copying the old you, Konohamaru replied. Naruto smiled warmly upon hearing that. His heart swelled with pride. It was because of people like them that he fought so hard for this village. Those goggles were pretty useful when I was younger. I'm sure they'll serve you well too, he said. Yeah, we haven't seen you around lately, boss. I like your new look, by the way. It's really cool, Konohamaru said, giving a thumbs up. Udon nodded in agreement, and Mogi shyly nodded as well, her face flushed. Haha, thanks for the compliment, guys. Yeah, I've had a bit of a growth spurt and needed new clothes. Glad you think they look good. I wanted to try something different. And sorry I've been MIA lately. Missions and training have kept me busy. But I'm free now, so what do you want to do? Naruto responded, causing all 3 kids' faces to light up with excitement. Let's play ninja, they shouted in unison, causing Naruto to chuckle at their enthusiastic energy. What kind of ninja plays ninja with a bunch of kids? How silly, came an unwanted voice from behind them. Naruto turned to see a displeased Sakura sneering at the group. His expression sharpened for a moment, making her shiver, before it softened back to his usual indifferent demeanor. Sakura stood frozen for a second, feeling as if she had just become the target of a predator's gaze. She didn't want to experience that again. Ara Sakura-san, I'm the kind of ninja who does that. These kids are my friends after all. Do you have a problem with that? Naruto asked calmly, though the underlying threat in his voice was clear. Sakura immediately shook her head, realizing that challenging him in this moment was a bad idea. She had just gotten a real taste of how terrifying Naruto could be. Hey, boss, who's this girl? Is she your you-know? Konohamaru asked with a mischievous grin, holding up his pinky finger. Sakura blushed, unsure whether it was from anger or embarrassment. Naruto chuckled lightly at Konohamaru's innocent remark. Nothing like that, Konohamaru. She's just my teammate, nothing more, Naruto replied. Sakura felt a sharp sting in her chest at those words. He didn't even consider her a friend. The day had gone from bad to worse. First Sasuke, now Naruto, it was all too much for her. Heh, I'm not surprised. She's kind of ugly, don't you think? Not sure if she's even a girl. She's flat-chested and her forehead's huge. You could do better, Konohamaru commented bluntly, not realizing the potential danger in his words. Naruto chuckled ruefully, while Kayu-chan howled with laughter in his mind. Sakura's face flushed with fury at the comments. She had been feeling frustrated all day, and Konohamaru had just become the perfect target. You might want to start running, Konohamaru, Naruto advised. Konohamaru saw Sakura's face twist in anger, and acting on instinct, bolted off with Udon and Mogi trailing behind him. Sakura chased after them, her anger burning hot. Naruto was amused by the entire exchange. He followed them at a leisurely pace. He would never let Sakura lay a hand on Konohamaru, but he figured it was a good lesson for his little friend on learning when to keep his mouth shut. He wished he had learned that lesson earlier in life. A loud crash came from around the corner, and Naruto, who had been following Konohamaru's chakra, knew the kid was involved. But it was the other 3 chakra signatures in the area that caused him to pause. They were big, probably high chunin level reserves, but it was the pure hostility emanating from one of them that caught his attention. It wasn't natural. Naruto decided to keep an eye on that one. He continued walking at his relaxed pace, deciding to observe the scene. He would step in if the situation got out of hand. The boy's face drained of color as he realized how close he had come to injuring the Hokage's grandson. That would have likely led to his immediate execution. He released Konohamaru, who dashed back to his friends. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement of his actions, sheathing his kunai and strolling past the 2 Sunanin, purposefully leaving his back unguarded to subtly imply that he saw them as no threat. The 2 understood his silent message, and although they were irritated by his dismissal, they knew better than to provoke him after nearly causing harm to the Hokage's family. Naruto knelt down to brush off Konohamaru's clothes and check for any injuries. Are you all right, Konohamaru? He asked. Konohamaru simply shook his head. I'm fine, boss. Thanks for the rescue. Naruto gave a soft smile and ruffled the boy's hair playfully, earning a bright grin in return. The blonde Sunanin watched the exchange with a smile. Not only was the guy strong and kind, but he had a way with kids too. He seemed almost too perfect. After making sure his friend was okay, Naruto stood and turned to face the Sunanin with a friendly expression that held no hidden agenda, which made them uneasy. It's not every day you see foreign shinobi in the village, but with the upcoming chunin exams, I suppose it makes sense. My name's Uzumaki Naruto, genin of Konoha. May I ask the names of our guests? He inquired politely. Sakura, on the other hand, was confused by the mention of the chunin exams. I'm Temari, and this is my brother Kankuro, the blonde girl, now identified as Temari, replied. Kankuro merely grunted in disapproval. Temari, what a lovely name for a beautiful desert bloom. The pleasure is mine, Naruto said, taking her hand and kissing it, which made her blush. While Naruto didn't have romantic feelings toward her, he did acknowledge her beauty and preferred to keep things friendly. Such connections could be useful in the future. As for a romantic relationship, his heart still belonged to Haku-chan. Sakura didn't know why, but she felt a pang of jealousy seeing Naruto's attention on the pretty blonde. It used to be her that received such attention, albeit not as smoothly. Now she couldn't help but feel a little empty. Before anyone could respond further, Naruto's reflexes kicked in, and he caught a stone just inches from Kankuro's face. The 2 Sunanin immediately tensed, but Naruto merely glanced toward the direction the stone came from. Sasuke-san, I understand you may be engaging in some kind of territorial display, but please refrain from assaulting foreign shinobi, especially ones who are our guests. This society does have some legal rules, you know, and while he's dressed in a cat suit and wearing makeup, I don't think he swings that way. Let's try to be more considerate, Naruto teased his teammate, who was perched in a tree, tossing a stone around as if trying to look intimidating. Kankuro's face turned pale at the implication and hurried to hide behind his sister. He completely ignored the dig about his appearance. He was far more concerned with preserving his dignity. Temari, however, felt a bit disappointed. Despite his seeming indifference, he wasn't interested in women. Well, that was her loss, she thought. Naruto was much more appealing in her opinion. The sincerity in Naruto's voice made the Sunanin believe him immediately about Sasuke's supposed orientation. Naruto, on the other hand, couldn't help but laugh internally at the constipated look on Sasuke's face. This prank was one of his favorites, and the fact that the Sunanin bought it made it all the more amusing. Sasuke was fuming, but he didn't want to make a scene. His actions would only validate Naruto's teasing. Instead, he glared at the blonde, trying to burn a hole through him with his gaze. Aren't you going to introduce us to your new friend, Sasuke-san? Naruto asked, glancing to his side, where Sasuke found a redhead from Suna hanging upside down on the branch next to him. The presence of the redhead had gone unnoticed by anyone except Naruto. "Kankuro, you disgrace," the newcomer said in a cold, detached tone. Kankuro broke into a cold sweat, his body trembling in fear. Naruto, using his negative emotions sensing ability, noticed the sheer terror radiating from both Temari and Kankuro. "Gaara," Kankuro stammered before he was cut off. "Shut up or I'll kill you," Gaara's voice was ice cold, causing Kankuro to freeze in fear. "I understand, it was my mistake." "Sorry, really sorry," Kankuro mumbled, still visibly shaking. Naruto observed the entire exchange with interest. Using his abilities, he could feel the immense fear and bloodlust emanating from Gaara, who was the source of it all. The boy was shorter than his teammates and had a kanji for love on his forehead. Gaara's chakra reserves were vast, close to his own, if not more, and Naruto could sense something else in it, a strange, dark presence. "Kaiu-chan," Naruto thought, calling his tenant. "I can sense it too, be cautious around him. That boy is likely the Jinchuriki of Shukaku, the Ikibai." Kyuubi responded, her tone serious. Naruto's mind raced with the implications. Sending a Jinchuriki to the chunin exams was highly unusual and politically risky. "I apologize for my teammates' behavior," Gaara said directly to Naruto, appearing in front of him in a burst of sand. "Sabaku no Gaara," Gaara introduced himself coldly. Naruto gave a polite smile and replied. "Uzumaki Naruto," he responded. Gaara nodded once, signaling to his team to leave. As the Sunanin walked away, Sasuke, unable to stand being ignored, demanded, "Don't you want to know my name?" Gaara stopped, turned slowly, and studied Sasuke for a few moments. There was an eerie silence before Gaara simply replied, "No," and turned away, leaving Sasuke fuming in frustration. Naruto, ever the instigator, couldn't resist. "Sorry, Sasuke-san, looks like you're not his type. But don't worry, I'm sure there's a big crowd of burly guys in the chunin exams who would love to find someone just like you." His words made Sasuke's face flush with rage. Naruto quickly grabbed Konohamaru, Mogi, and Udon, disappearing in a swirl of wind before Sasuke could retaliate. Scene change, the next morning, Team 7 gathered at their usual spot on the bridge. Sakura was staring at Sasuke with hearts in her eyes, while Sasuke brooded with even more intensity than usual. Naruto, who had just arrived, greeted them with a calm smile and leaned back against the bridge. Meanwhile, in his mind, Naruto continued his conversation with Kyuubi. "What can you tell me about the Ikibai's Jinchuriki?" Naruto asked. "Shukaku has always had control over sand and was proficient in Futon ninjutsu. He's also known for driving his hosts to madness. The boy's eyes, he hasn't slept in days, if not longer." Kyuubi responded. Naruto nodded thoughtfully. "I'll need to keep an eye on him. But I need to figure out how to warn the Hokage without giving away too much. Though I suspect he already knows. Perhaps it's best to remain silent for now." Just then, Kakashi appeared, apologizing for his lateness with his usual excuse. "Liar," Sakura screeched as usual. "Anyway, I've decided to nominate you for the chunin exams," Kakashi announced, handing them their applications. The group reacted in different ways. Naruto gave his usual polite smile, Sasuke burned with determination, and Sakura looked utterly terrified. Kakashi continued, "This is just a nomination. Whether or not you decide to participate is up to you. If you choose to join, sign the forms and submit them by 3 p.m. at the academy in 6 days." He disappeared in a puff of smoke. Scene change later that afternoon, Naruto prepared for the chunin exams, ensuring he had all the necessary supplies, including kunai, shuriken, and self-made seals. He wasn't taking any chances. Arriving at the academy, he found Sasuke brooding and Sakura nervously fidgeting. Without a word, they walked into the building, ready to face whatever lay ahead in the exams. As they ascended the stairs, a commotion erupted near the door marked 301. Naruto immediately recognized the genjutsu. Only 2 flights of stairs had been climbed, so it was an easy catch. He could tell Sasuke noticed it too. They saw a boy dressed in a tight green suit with outrageously bushy eyebrows fall to the floor. His teammate, a girl in a Chinese-style top and 2 buns in her hair, rushed to his side. "Are you seriously attempting the chunin exam with that?" questioned the first guard. "You all should just give up now," suggested the second guard. "Kids like you won't make it," remarked the first guard again. "Please let us through," the girl with the buns pleaded, only to be met with a slap to the face from one of the guards. "What did you say? We're showing you kindness here. The chunin exam isn't a joke," the first guard said. "Some won't even make it out of this alive. It's a brutal exam." "We've seen it before," said the second guard. "We're just weeding out the ones who are doomed to fail." "What's wrong with that?" "I understand, but I'll be going to the 3rd floor now. Drop the genjutsu and let me pass," Sasuke said smugly, walking up to the guard. The next sound that filled the air was the slap of Naruto's palm against Sasuke's face. "What an idiot," Naruto thought. "Heh, not bad, but you only saw through it," the first guard said before he moved into action. Sasuke reacted quickly, but was stopped by the green-clad boy, who moved so fast that most people barely noticed. He intercepted both guards with ease. Naruto raised an eyebrow in interest. Despite the boy's ridiculous appearance, Naruto could see his well-defined muscles and impressive speed. He made a mental note to watch out for him during the exam. "Hey, what happened to the plan? You're the one who said we shouldn't attract attention," a third member of the strange team asked. His long black hair and pupilless white eyes immediately gave away that he was a Hyuga. "Well," the bushy-browed boy stammered, blushing as he looked at Sakura, prompting his female teammate to groan in frustration as she watched him walk over to the pink-haired girl. "My name is Rock Lee, and yours must be Sakura-san," he said, causing Sakura to blink in confusion. He beamed a radiant smile and flashed an enthusiastic thumbs up. "Let's go out sometime. I'll protect you with my life." Sakura looked almost sickened. Naruto had to bite his lip to suppress his laughter at the situation. It was honestly hilarious. "No way," she responded. "Huh," Lee looked like he had just been told his puppy had been kicked. "You're lame," she muttered, causing Lee's head to drop in defeat. "Hey, you," the Hyuga boy called to Sasuke, his tone a bit more pompous now. "What's your name? When you want to learn someone's name, shouldn't you tell yours first?" Sasuke replied coolly, only for Naruto to step in, draping an arm over his shoulder with a grin. "His name's Uchiha Sasuke. He likes training, tomatoes, and romantic walks on the beach. Normally, he prefers more masculine guys, but he has a thing for pretty boys too. If you're interested, just wait till the exams are over. All I ask is that you be gentle. His heart is fragile," Naruto said with a straight face. The Hyuga boy recoiled in disgust and walked off. The girl couldn't hide her giggle at Sasuke's discomfort, while the Uchiha fumed in frustration at Naruto's interference. "Come on, Casanova, we don't want to be late," Naruto said, ignoring the intense glare Sasuke sent his way. He moved toward the exam venue, Sasuke trailing behind, no doubt promising retribution. As Team 7 approached the venue, they heard a voice call from above. "You there with the sharp eyes, wait." They turned around to see Rock Lee perched on a railing. "What now?" Sasuke asked, clearly irritated. "Will you fight me?" "Right here, right now," Lee asked eagerly. "Sasuke-san, we don't have time for this. We need to get to the exam room before it's too late," Naruto interjected. "Don't tell me what to do, Dobi," Sasuke retorted, making Naruto sigh in resignation. "You're going to lose. He's way too strong for you. Maybe your pretty eyes can keep track of it. Just make sure you turn them on so you remember this beating. It might humble you." "I'm heading to the exam room," Naruto said, as he walked past the fuming Sasuke and the concerned Sakura. "Oh, and Rock Lee," he called back, getting the older boy's attention. "Try not to break my teammate too badly. I still need him for the exam," he added with a grin. Lee responded with an enthusiastic thumbs up. Naruto continued his walk toward the room, losing patience with the childish antics. He found Kakashi waiting just outside. "Naruto, you're here. And alone," Kakashi noted. "Sasuke's busy getting his ass kicked by some guy in a green suit named Rock Lee," Naruto replied, leaning against the wall opposite his teacher. Kakashi's sweat dropped. "I see." They stood in silence until 10 minutes later, they heard footsteps approaching. Sakura entered with a concerned expression, followed by Sasuke, who looked like he'd been through the ringer. "Well, now that Mr. Too Cool for this is done getting his ego shattered, we can finally get to the good part," Naruto teased. Sasuke's glare only deepened. "I'm glad you all showed up. If any of you hadn't, the others would have been disqualified. I didn't mention this earlier so that Sasuke or Naruto didn't pressure Sakura into these exams. Now that you're all here, though, we can get started. Good luck, my little students," Kakashi said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Team 7 nodded and headed into the exam room. Upon entering, the flood of killing intent was immediately felt. While most genin might have been intimidated, Team 7 had already experienced the terrifying presence of Momoichi Zabuza, a master killer. The combined intent of all the genin in the room was nothing compared to that of the Kiri demon. Still, Sakura trembled from the pressure, while Sasuke wore a grin of excitement. Naruto didn't flinch, having felt much worse from the Kyuubi on a daily basis. He remained calm, politely scanning the room as he moved to a corner with a strategic view of everyone. He spotted the Suna team from earlier that week and waved at them. Temari gave a playful smirk, Kankuro scowled, and Gaara just stared at him blankly. Naruto's impromptu staring contest with Gaara was cut short by the screech of an all-too-familiar voice. "Sasuke-kun, what took you so long? I've been waiting to see you for months." Yamanaka Ino's high-pitched voice filled the air as she jumped onto Sasuke's back. Ino pig, let go of Sasuke-kun," Sakura shouted. "Oh, it's you, Sakura. Still ugly as ever, I see," Ino commented, sticking her tongue out at her former friend. "What did you say?" Sakura's temper flared as she glared at Ino. If Naruto didn't have to maintain his friendly exterior, he'd be facepalming at the childish drama unfolding around him. He couldn't wait to speak with Uruka about the academy's so-called training. "Are you guys doing this troublesome exam too?" came the lazy voice of Nara Shikamaru. He looked the same as ever, with his pineapple-shaped ponytail and half-lidded eyes. But Naruto knew Shikamaru's lazy exterior hid a brilliant mind, even if it was too troublesome for the boy to use most of the time. Shikamaru was joined by his loyal teammate, Akimichi Chouji, who was munching on some snacks. "Yahoo, looks like everyone's finally here," shouted Inuzuka Kiba. One of Team 8's members, Kiba was a braggart and a bit arrogant, but Naruto knew he could be decent if he matured a little. He wasn't the most annoying member of Team 8 though. "Hello," Hyuga Hinata greeted softly. The shy girl didn't make a fuss, unlike many of the others. She was never a Sasuke fangirl, which was a plus in Naruto's eyes. He started to wonder if she might have a thing for him, but decided it wasn't worth thinking about at the moment. Lastly, there was a Burame Shino. A quiet, efficient member of Team 8, Shino kept to himself and got the job done. He didn't seek fame or attention, which made him one of the most capable shinobi in their class. "I see, so all 9 rookies are taking the exam this year. How far do you think we can make it, Sasuke?" Kiba said, giving Sasuke a challenging look, who merely smirked in response. "You seem pretty sure of yourself, Kiba," Sasuke remarked. "We trained hard. We won't lose to you," Kiba, the unofficial leader of Team 8, declared. He then noticed something. "Where's that idiot Naruto? Did he bail on the exams?" he asked with a mock laugh. "Ara, Kiba-san, I've been standing here the entire time," a smooth voice responded, drawing the attention of the rookies. Sasuke grimaced inwardly, his muscles tensing from the familiar taunt in Naruto's voice. Sakura was caught between a scowl and a blush. The others stared wide-eyed at the tall blonde leaning casually against the wall, who had completely slipped under their radar. His features were unmistakable, yet everything else was new and imposing, despite the friendly smile he wore. "Is that Naruto?" Ino muttered to herself in disbelief. Her cheeks flushed as her mind struggled to comprehend the transformation from the loud, short boy she remembered to this tall, striking figure. "En Naruto-kun," Hinata whispered softly, a vivid blush spreading across her face. She struggled to hold back a squeal of excitement, her heart racing at the sight of him. Her imagination went into overdrive, creating fantasies she could barely contain. Shikamaru glanced at Naruto, trying to process the change, and eventually sighed, settling on a single word. Chouji simply gave a thumbs up. "Troublesome," Shikamaru muttered under his breath. "Shino, Hinata, it's good to see you both again. I trust everything's been going well." Naruto greeted them warmly. Hinata struggled to form words but nodded enthusiastically, barely able to suppress her joy at his kindness. "I'm doing well, thank you Naruto-san," Shino replied, his usual cool demeanor unaffected. Shikamaru and Chouji received simple nods of acknowledgement. "Heh, what's with the new look, Dobi? Trying to look cool?" Kiba teased, not liking the attention Naruto was getting. Naruto raised an eyebrow in response. "Odd. Sasuke-san asked me the same thing. Didn't realize my clothing choices were such a concern for you. I'm starting to feel like I'm being ogled like some object." "Please, keep your eyes to yourself, Kiba-san," Naruto replied politely, his tone sharp but courteous. Kiba's face reddened with embarrassment as he sputtered indignantly. Sasuke stifled a snort at the blonde's calm, yet cutting response. While Naruto annoyed him, it was amusing to see someone else on the receiving end of his well-mannered jabs. Hinata shot Kiba a sharp glare, clearly displeased with his behavior and his lecherous attitude toward Naruto. Before the tension could rise any further, a voice cut through the air. "Hey, quiet down over there." The group turned to see an unremarkable boy, likely a few years older than them, wearing a leaf headband and round glasses, his gray hair pulled into a ponytail. Naruto's gaze sharpened for a brief moment. The chakra emanating from the boy was unmistakably at the Jounin level, and the smoothness with which it flowed indicated impeccable control. It was even better than Kakashi's. Naruto also picked up a strange feeling from the boy, something akin to lust, but not in the usual sense. It was a thirst for knowledge, or perhaps something deeper that Naruto couldn't quite place. This guy was dangerous, Naruto concluded. He would need to keep a close eye on him. His expression returned to its usual friendly demeanor before anyone noticed the change. "So, you're the 9 rookies who just graduated from the academy, huh? You're all acting pretty carefree. This isn't a field trip," the boy said. "Who are you to tell us that?" Ino demanded hotly. "I'm Yakushi Kabuto," the boy replied smoothly. "Look around you," he continued, gesturing to the other genin in the room who were shooting them condescending glares. "You've got some from Aimgakure back there, and they've got short tempers. Everyone's on edge before the exams, so just keep it in mind." Most of the rookies shifted uncomfortably, noticing the tension in the room. Kabuto continued speaking, his tone a little more playful. I guess it can't be helped. You're all rookies, so you probably don't know what you're in for. It reminds me of the old me, he said nostalgically. Kabuto-san, is this your second time taking the exam? Sakura asked. No, this is actually my seventh, Kabuto answered sheepishly, shocking everyone. Naruto's suspicions grew. This boy, a Jounin-level shinobi, had failed this exam 6 times. That didn't add up. Naruto knew there was more to this than Kabuto was letting on. He would be keeping an eye on him. This exam happens twice a year, and this is my 4th attempt, Kabuto added. Does that mean you know a lot about this exam? Sakura asked. Indeed, Kabuto replied with a nod. But you still haven't passed, Shikamaru pointed out, his voice flat. Yeah, that's true, Kabuto admitted, rubbing the back of his head. Is this exam really that hard? This is getting more troublesome, Shikamaru muttered. Maybe I should share some useful info with you guys, Kabuto said, grinning as he pulled out a deck of cards. These are my recognition cards. They contain information I've gathered using my chakra. I've collected details about this exam for the past 4 years, about 200 cards in total, he said, showing them the deck. Do any of these cards have personal information? Sasuke asked, his interest piqued. They do, Kabuto replied. Anyone in particular you're interested in? Sasuke wasted no time. Sabaku no Gaara from Sunagakure and Rock Lee from Konohagakure. Ah, you know their names. That makes it easy, Kabuto said, pulling out 2 cards. Let's start with Rock Lee. He's a year older than you. He's completed 20 D-rank missions and 11 C-rank missions. His squad leader is Mado Guy, and his taijutsu has improved dramatically in the past year. However, his other skills are lacking. He's an impressive rookie, but he didn't participate in last year's chunin exams. His team consists of Ten and Hyuga Neji, Kabuto explained. Naruto couldn't help but notice the way Hinata flinched when Lee's Hyuga teammate was mentioned. He vaguely remembered the arrogant boy who had challenged Sasuke earlier. Now, for Gaara. He's completed 8 C-rank missions and even a B-rank mission as a genin, which is incredible. He's a foreign ninja, and this is his first chunin exam. Not much is known about him, but it's strange. He's always come back from missions unharmed, Kabuto finished. A B-rank as a genin, Shikamaru said in disbelief. Kabuto nodded. Yeah, and he returned without a scratch. Naruto's attention sharpened as Kabuto continued, pointing out various villages and explaining his take on the reasons behind the exams. He dismissed the new Otagakure team, calling them insignificant. Suddenly, the sound of movement caught Naruto's eye. Kabuto noticed it too, but feigned ignorance. A genin from Otagakure sprang forward, throwing kunai at Kabuto, who dodged with ease. But the second Otagakure genin, wrapped in bandages with a single eye uncovered, closed the distance, swinging a strange metallic device on his arm. Kabuto dodged, but the device released a sound wave that shattered his glasses and caused him to stagger, blood leaking from his ear. Naruto's keen eyes caught the deliberate way Kabuto moved, forcing himself to act out of character. Something was off. Kabuto wasn't as skilled as he had made himself out to be. Naruto was more certain than ever that this man was hiding something. You're not as good as I thought, for a veteran who's taken this exam for 4 years in a row, the bandaged genin remarked in a gravelly voice. Remember this, the Otagakure team will definitely become chunins, the other Oto genin declared arrogantly. The atmosphere in the room was electric, and the rookies could feel the rising tension. Before anything else could happen, a burst of smoke in the front of the classroom grabbed everyone's attention, followed by a commanding voice that echoed through the room. Quiet down, you fools. A tall man, dressed in a black trench coat with 2 scars marking his face, announced. I am the examiner for the first stage of the chunin selection exam, Morino Ibiki. He scanned the room, his sharp eyes sweeping over the genin, before pointing to the back of the room. You 3 from Otagakure, do you think you can act however you like in my exam room? Do you want me to disqualify you on the spot? He threatened. The trio in question didn't appear overly concerned, still wearing smug expressions. My bad, this is my first exam, so I got a little too excited, one of them, wrapped in bandages, responded. Ibiki smirked. This is a good time to remind you all, you are not allowed to engage in combat during the exam unless specifically permitted by the examiners. Even with permission, you cannot kill anyone. Anyone who defies me will fail immediately. Got it? He warned, his tone menacing. The Otonin with the Happyuri-style Hitayate just sneered at him. This exam seems a bit too soft for my liking, he commented arrogantly. The chunin examiners stationed around the room shared a quiet chuckle at his ignorance. We will now begin the first test of the chunin selection exam. Come forward, draw a number, and take your assigned seat. We'll hand out the test papers afterward, Ibiki instructed. The hopefuls quickly complied and got into their respective positions. Naruto drew number 53 and quietly made his way to his seat. Looking around the room, He noted that the distribution of village affiliations seemed fairly balanced. He turned to his right and noticed Hinata nervously fidgeting. He couldn't help but smile at her endearing behavior. He wondered why he'd pursued Sakura for so long when someone like Hinata had always shown interest. But there was little he could do about that for now. He just focused on calming the girl's nerves. "Hinata," he called out, causing her to jump slightly. Her cheeks flushed immediately. Naruto-kun," she stammered, clearly flustered. It was rare for him to speak to her, and it made her heart race with excitement. "Good luck on the test. Let's do our best, okay?" he said with a reassuring smile. Her eyes brightened in response, and she seemed to sit up a little straighter, her anxiety easing. Pleased with his efforts, Naruto nodded and settled into his seat. "All right, pay attention. The first test has a few crucial rules. No questions, so listen up," Ibiki announced, his voice cutting through the murmur of the room. Silence fell over the room as everyone gave him their full attention. "You start with 10 points. This written test consists of 10 questions, each worth 1 point. This is a test of deduction. If you get one question wrong, you lose 1 point. Get 3 wrong and your points drop to 7. Rule number 2, the pass-fail decision will be based on your team's total points." A wave of murmurs spread across the room. "Shut up, there's a reason for that, so just listen." Rule 3, if an examiner catches you cheating, you lose 2 points. In other words, if you cheat, you risk leaving here without having your test graded. Anyone who cheats recklessly only harms themselves. You're all trying to become chunins, so act like top-tier shinobi. Also, if any member of your team gets 0 points, the whole team fails. The last question will be given 45 minutes into the exam. You have 1 hour. "Now, begin," Ibiki ordered. The examiners flipped over their papers, and the participants immediately got to work. Naruto wouldn't claim to be a genius. To him, the term was a synonym for those who relied on family names or those who lacked the drive to push themselves. He would never label himself as such. Every day of his life had been a struggle. Everything he had, he earned through hard work. Blood, sweat, and tears had brought him this far, and he was proud of it. That said, Naruto could admit he had some natural aptitude in certain areas, Fuinjutsu for instance. He was also a trickster at heart, proud of the pranks that had earned him a notorious reputation in the village. What started as a way to get attention had transformed over time. With his darker side now integrated into him, Naruto had realized how dangerous his skill set truly was. What had once been harmless pranks involving paint balloons and smoke bombs could now be turned into deadly traps with kunai, shuriken, senbon, and explosive tags. His pranks, once innocent, were now far more lethal. Though he was expected to be a frontline fighter because of his Jinchuriki status and vast chakra reserves, Naruto would always remain a trickster at his core. While he wasn't exactly book-smart, his battle instincts had always served him well. Even when he lacked experience, he managed to get out of tough situations, like when he tricked Zabuza into releasing Kakashi from the water prison jutsu. It was that same instinct that helped him recognize when someone was trying to deceive him. The rules of the exam made no sense for a written test. Why deduct points for cheating when common sense dictated a disqualification? Ibiki had even advised them to think carefully before trying to cheat. He also said to act like top-tier shinobi, which Naruto found amusing. As he flipped over his test, he saw that the majority of the questions were absurd. Despite all the studying he'd done in the last 6 months, he doubted he could answer them all. Some might be within reach, but most were far beyond the level of a genin or even a regular chunin. He doubted he'd get them right without copying. His eyes suddenly snapped open with a mischievous grin. Around him, several others were employing various methods to cheat. Hinata and the other member of her clan had their Byakugan activated, copying answers from others. Sasuke had his Sharingan in full effect, copying the movements of the person ahead of him. Tenten was using ninja wire to move a large mirror on the ceiling, with Lee taking advantage of her trick. The eccentric Gaara, the desert raccoon, appeared to have removed his own eyeball to read another's answers. Gross. Shikamaru was tackling the exam alone, no surprise there, though he was using his shadow to help Choji answer. Not bad. Kiba had Akamaru helping him, while Shino's bugs were feeding him answers. Ino, ever the strategist, had used her Shintenshin to get Sakura's answers. Naruto had observed everyone long enough. He had the ultimate information-gathering technique. No offense to the other genin, but no one could compare to him in this situation. Now, all he had to do was pick his target. He closed his eyes and focused his negative emotions sensing. The room was a whirlwind of fear, anxiety, and other negative emotions. The bloodlust was obviously coming from Sasuke. He honed in on the guy 2 seats ahead of him. Not only did the guy have chunin-level chakra, but he was also oddly calm. This led Naruto to one conclusion: he was a plant, which meant he likely had the correct answers. A grin spread across Naruto's face. Now that he had his target, all he needed was a distraction. He quickly scribbled a seal on a blank tag. His strokes were quick and precise, combining two low-level seals to create the desired effect. The first was like a flashbang followed by a small explosion. Nothing fatal, just a loud bang. Once finished, he added a third seal to act as a security measure, ensuring the content would only be visible when he wanted it to be. With his work done, he slipped his hands beneath the table, preparing his wind chakra. His control over the element allowed him to perform this simple trick effortlessly. He gathered a light breeze and sent the tag toward the front of the room. Glancing at Hinata, he noticed her watching him curiously. Their eyes met, and she blushed when he caught her gaze. He gestured for her to deactivate her Byakugan and close her eyes. She complied, and he checked for any signs that someone had noticed him. Once he was sure, he formed a hand sign and activated his seal. Flash, a brilliant white light flooded the classroom. Bang, a loud explosion-like sound shook the room, sending everyone scrambling to understand what had happened. The tremors faded quickly, and the room fell into an uneasy silence. Naruto couldn't help but enjoy the sight of the Hyuga boy rubbing his eyes in pain. Sasuke wasn't faring much better. He smirked to himself, mission accomplished. While the others were distracted by the flash, Naruto quickly created 3 cage bunshin and had them transform into flies. They buzzed toward his target, making sure to memorize the answer sheet. A few minutes later, one of his clones dispersed, allowing Naruto to view its memories. He quickly jotted down the answers on his own sheet. It took only 3 minutes. Looking over at Hinata, he gave her an exaggerated thumbs up, causing her to giggle softly. He decided to take a quick nap, blocking out the sounds of pencils scratching on paper and the increasing number of teams being disqualified. Naruto wasn't sure how much time had passed, but he was stirred from his rest by a gentle tap on his shoulder. He groaned, stretching his back before giving a thankful smile to the girl, causing her cheeks to flush. He chuckled softly at her. "Looks like we've lost the weak ones," Ibiki remarked from the front of the room, scanning the remaining examinees. Satisfied with what he saw, he continued, "Now, I'll give you the final question, as 45 minutes have already passed." Everyone straightened in their seats. Some were anxious, others steeled themselves with determination. "But before that, there's something important I need to explain. This will be a special rule for the final question. It's a rule with no hope," Ibiki began. "A rule with no hope?" Temari questioned, her voice laced with irritation. "What happens if we don't take the last question? If you opt out, your points will drop to 0. In other words, you fail. And your entire team fails with you." Ibiki replied with a slight smirk. "What? Of course we'll take the question," one of the genin shouted in disbelief. "And here's the other part. If you choose to answer and get it wrong, you will be barred from taking the chunin exams forever," Ibiki concluded. This caused an uproar among the examinees, many voicing their outrage at the apparent unfairness. "How is that even possible? There are people here who have attempted the chunin exams before," Kiba protested angrily. Ibiki just chuckled darkly in response. "You're just unlucky. This year, I'm the one who sets the rules. That's why I gave you the choice. Those who aren't confident can skip the question, sit out, and come back next year or whenever. Let's begin." Ibiki finished. The room's atmosphere thickened with tension. Many were beginning to sweat, fear of the consequences weighing heavily on them. It was no surprise when some started to bow out. Naruto, however, leaned back in his chair with a relaxed grin, watching the drama unfold. He wasn't bothered by a silly question. Hinata glanced at him, in awe of his calm demeanor. For a moment, she felt her own doubts fade away. After a tense 10 minutes, Ibiki spoke again. "If anyone wants to quit, now's the time," he said, surveying the room. When no one responded, he nodded with approval. "Great resolve, then. I'm pleased to announce that everyone here passes the first exam," he declared with a smirk. Most of the remaining examinees were left staring at him in confusion. "Wait, what's going on? We passed already. What about the final question?" Sakura asked, still bewildered. "There was never a final question to begin with. You can consider the two-choice decision as the final question," Ibiki answered. "What, so all those previous questions were just pointless?" Temari protested. "No, not pointless. Those 9 questions served their purpose. They were designed to test your ability to gather information. The first rule: your fate in this exam depends on your team's success. That rule put pressure on you not to be the weak link, but those problems weren't meant to be solved. So it was clear that most of you came to the same conclusion. I need to cheat to pass. That's right, everyone was expected to cheat. We had 2 chunin who knew the answers, acting as targets for your cheating. Those who were caught cheating failed. Simple as that," Ibiki explained before removing his bandana to reveal his heavily scarred bald head, a grisly sight that made many genin recoil in horror. "Why? Because information is often more valuable than life. In missions and battles, information is fought for with lives. Incorrect intel can cause significant harm to your village and your team. That's why we tested your ability to gather it, even if it meant breaking the rules. Those who failed to do so are eliminated, he continued. But I still can't get behind that last question, Temery murmured. The 10th question was the main challenge of this exam, Ibiki said. When the confusion was clear on the faces around him, he continued. Let me explain. The 10th question was a simple yes or no choice. It was cruel, yes. If you chose not to answer, you and your team would fail. If you answered and got it wrong, you were permanently disqualified from the chunin exams. That's why it was so insincere. It was designed to test your resolve. You might face missions with heavy risks, where you don't know the enemy's strength and your life could be at risk. But will you back down because of that? The answer is no. Sometimes, you must accept dangerous missions despite the risk. If you can't face danger head-on, you're not ready to lead a team as a chunin. Those who hesitated, who were willing to skip this exam to try again next year, have no place here, he said solemnly. Choosing to answer the 10th question, that's the mark of a true chunin. You've shown you can handle what's to come. The first exam is over. I wish you all the best. Ibiki then glanced toward the window. Naruto felt the approaching chakra signature, picking up speed. The window exploded inward as a black object fell into the room, unraveling to reveal a banner pinned to the ceiling. It read, "The second proctor has arrived." Mitarashi Enko. Standing before the banner was a woman with purple hair styled in a pineapple ponytail, wearing a mesh bodysuit and an orange skirt, topped off with a long coat. Listen up, there's no time to rest. I'm Mitarashi Enko, the second proctor of the chunin exams. Let's move to the next test. Follow me, she said energetically, raising a fist in the air. The room remained dead silent. Naruto laughed quietly, enjoying her lively presence. She was both entertaining and undeniably attractive. Learn to read the room, Ibiki muttered after stepping out from behind the banner. Enko blushed in embarrassment as she glanced at the remaining hopefuls. 78, you let 26 teams pass. Are you going soft, Ibiki? Enko teased. No, there are some exceptional candidates this year, Ibiki countered. HMPH, we'll see. I plan on cutting that number in half in the next round, Enko declared ominously, grinning at the thought of the challenge. Let's get moving. Follow me, brats, she commanded, taking off. The remaining examinees scrambled to keep up. After about half an hour of running, they stopped near a secluded part of the village. Naruto had an idea of where they were heading, as his own training ground wasn't too far from here. Enko halted before a foreboding forest surrounded by large fences. Warnings and danger signs were plastered everywhere, the ominous presence of the place sending chills through the genin. This is where the second test takes place. Welcome to Training Ground 44, better known as the Forest of Death. Trust me when I say, you'll understand why it's called that once you're inside, Enko announced with a sinister grin that sent shivers down the examinees' spines. Most were visibly terrified, while a few like Sasuke seemed eager for the challenge. The last member of Team 7, however, was still lazily gazing up at the sky, utterly unconcerned by the examiner's words. This drew a quick reaction from Enko, who threw a kunai at him with deadly accuracy. Naruto didn't even flinch as it grazed his cheek, drawing a small trickle of blood. Before anyone could blink, Enko appeared behind him, locking him in a tight hold and licking the blood off his cheek. Her actions left the onlookers stunned and disturbed. You're the kind of person who dies first, aren't you, Blondie? She taunted, her voice dripping with mockery. Naruto's face remained impassive as he turned to face her, his gaze cool as ever. 97 centimeters. I'd guess a C-cup. Enko froze, her face going red with embarrassment, especially when she realized he was spot on. She was caught between irritation, embarrassment, and a strange, flustered feeling she didn't quite understand. No one had ever dared to speak to her like that before, and it both angered and intrigued her. Before she could respond to the cute blonde, Enko sensed a presence behind her, causing her to immediately reach for her kunai. A long tongue emerged over her shoulder, holding the kunai she had thrown earlier at Naruto. The tongue belonged to a long-haired genin from Kusagakure. Naruto kept his expression neutral, though inside, he fought the urge to vomit. The emotions he felt coming from the Kusa genin were overwhelmingly vile. Her chakra was potent, almost as strong as the Hokage's, but it felt corrupted. His instincts screamed at him to stay away from this person. He made a mental note to avoid them at all costs. Here's your kunai, the Kusagakure genin said, handing it to Enko. Thanks, she replied, her tone more serious. But don't sneak up on me like that, unless you want to make an early exit from this exam. I get a bit eager when I see blood. My hair was also cut, so I lost control for a moment. My bad, the Kusagakure genin apologized before walking away. Seems like there are a lot of short fuses here today. This is going to be fun, Anko remarked with a smirk. The one with the shortest fuse is you, Naruto commented flatly, earning a brief blush from Anko. She glared at him playfully as she returned to her post at the main gate of the Forest of Death. Before we start the second test, I'm going to pass these out, Anko announced, pulling out a stack of forms. These are consent forms. Everyone taking this exam must sign them. Why? Kiba asked, confused. Because from here on out, people might die, so we need written consent before continuing. By signing this, you acknowledge that neither I nor Konoha is responsible if you don't make it out alive. Anko answered nonchalantly, sending a chill through the participants. Now, on to the explanation of the second test. Let me be blunt. You will be thrown into an intense survival match. First, let me tell you about the terrain. Training Ground 44 is a circular area surrounded by 44 locked gates. There's a river, a forest, and a tower in the middle. The tower is roughly 10 kilometers from the gates. Inside this confined space, you'll have to navigate a survival program. It's a competition where anything goes, and it all revolves around these scrolls. She lifted up a white scroll and a blue scroll. The scroll of heaven and the scroll of earth. You will fight to obtain these. There were 26 teams that passed the first test, and they'll be split into two halves. One group will get the scroll of heaven, the other will get the scroll of earth. You'll fight over them. And how do we pass? Sasuke inquired. Simple. Bring both scrolls to the tower with your team intact, Anko answered. So, half of the teams, or 13, will fail when their scroll is taken, Sakura deduced. Correct, but you have 120 hours, or 5 days, to do this, Anko clarified. 5 days, Ino exclaimed, clearly shocked. Food, Chaoji asked, worried. Figure it out, the forest is a natural resource. There should be plenty of food if you know where to look, she responded. But don't forget, there are deadly beasts, poisonous insects, and hazardous plants lurking around, Kabuto warned. Exactly, it's called survival for a reason, Ino remarked. Also, not all 13 teams will make it. It's just not possible, Neji added. As time passes, you'll have to keep moving and you'll have less and less time to rest. It's going to be tough, Rock Lee said with a grin, his teeth sparkling. People will get injured during the fight for the scrolls, and those who can't handle the pressure will drop out, Anko added ominously. Can we quit midway? Shikamaru asked, already expecting the answer. Not allowed. Once you enter, you're committed for 5 days, Anko replied. Just as I thought. This is troublesome, Shikamaru muttered to himself. Lastly, here's what will get you disqualified. First, a team that can't bring both scrolls to the tower will fail. Second, any team that loses a member or has an irreparably injured teammate will fail. Also, you can't look inside the scrolls until you reach the tower. As a chunin, you'll handle top-secret missions, and this rule tests your trustworthiness, Anko concluded. The teams then moved to a nearby hut to hand in their consent forms and receive their scrolls and gate numbers. The process was private, so no one knew which scroll any other team had. Team 7 stood before Gate 12, with Sasuke and Naruto seeming unbothered by the test, while Sakura appeared highly energized. Naruto couldn't help but wonder what had her so excited. The second test begins now. Here's one last bit of advice. Don't die, Anko shouted as a loud bang rang out, signaling the start of the test. The teams quickly raced into the forest. As soon as Naruto stepped into the forest, he was overwhelmed by a flood of sensations. The intensity was nearly unbearable, causing him to drop to one knee, his head pounding with fury. Kyuubi, what's going on? He asked mentally, grinding his teeth in frustration. Your negative emotions sensing ability is being overloaded by the sheer negativity of this forest. It's crawling with dangerous creatures, insects, and poisonous plants, all emitting negative emotions. You've never been in an environment like this before, and you're not used to processing this much emotion at once. Even with all your training, this is too much for you right now. Naruto gritted his teeth. This was the first time since the wave mission that he felt this overwhelmed. Oi Dobi, what's the holdup? Sasuke called. Nothing, just getting my bearings, Naruto replied through clenched teeth. Can you turn it off? He asked Kyuubi. Yes, but we don't know if you'll be back here again. It might be wise to train here while you're in the forest, so you don't encounter this again. Kyuubi suggested. You're right, I need to separate from the team, but I'll keep them safe. Turn off the ability for now, though. After the Kyuubi disabled his sensing ability, Naruto regained his composure and continued through the forest with his team, remaining vigilant for any threats. He secretly created a shadow clone and transformed it into a copy of the Heaven Scroll that his team held, which Sasuke had tucked in his kunai holster. Naruto had wanted to keep it, but Sasuke and his groupie seemed intent on objecting. He decided to do things the old-fashioned way. When they reached a clearing to strategize, Naruto used his mastery of the Kawarami to switch the real scroll with his transformed clone. This way, anyone who attempted to steal it would be met with an alert, and he could protect his team by dispelling the clone if necessary. With that taken care of, he moved on to his next plan. After Sasuke gave some ridiculous password, Naruto excused himself, claiming he needed to relieve himself. Sakura just rolled her eyes. Moving deeper into the forest, Naruto found a secluded spot perfect for his next task. He created a single cage bunshin and began drawing multiple seals on its body to enhance its endurance. He planned to use the clone to protect his team while he trained. The clone's durability seals were powered by chakra storage seals, and every night, he would fill the seals with chakra for later use. Once his clone was ready, he gave it instructions to protect his team and avoid unnecessary conflict. Then, after dismissing the clone, Naruto settled in a tree hollow to focus on controlling his sensory ability. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he muttered, creating at least 300 clones that transformed into various plants and animals. These clones, while underhenge, could still use his sensing ability without drawing attention. He bit his thumb, performing the necessary hand seals before slamming his hand on the ground. Kuchios no Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, a large black fox appeared, its golden eyes bright with intelligence. She yipped in excitement when she saw him. Naruto-sama, it's been a while, how can I help? She asked eagerly. Hey Seiya, glad to see you. I need you to track down someone for me, Naruto said, handing her a piece of cloth with a distinct scent. He has whitish-gray hair and round glasses. Follow him quietly and report back in 5 days. If you're spotted, make sure to dispel and don't take any risks. Seiya sniffed the cloth before dashing off to the left, and Naruto couldn't help but hope that his loyal summon would be safe. Thanks to the Nine Tails, Naruto had become a summoner of the Kitsune clan. The fox spirit had told him stories of how Minato had once spoken to Kushina about Jiraiya's transformation into a toad summoner. Naruto, always eager to seize an opportunity, formed the necessary hand seals and found himself summoned into the realm of the Kitsune. To his surprise, the clan welcomed him not because of the Nine Tails' influence, but because of his mischievous nature. It turned out every person was aligned to a specific animal, and Naruto, by some strange twist of fate, was linked to the Kitsune. He was thrilled with his new summons. They were incredibly versatile, great for stealth, tracking, combat, and of course pranks. His personal summon Seiya was a young Kitsune and the daughter of the clan's matriarch, Yuri. Once his preparations were complete, Naruto asked Kyuubi to stop holding back his potential. The result was a rush of overwhelming negative emotions that disoriented him for a time, but he persevered. His clones, too, were struggling. However, Naruto was confident that it wouldn't take long before he fully mastered this new power. Just under 3 days later, Naruto had gained control over his negative emotions sensing ability. He could now filter out the irrelevant feelings and pinpoint the exact emotions he needed to, making it easier to sense threats and detect lies. He was certain that very few people would ever be able to deceive him. Well done, brat. I'm actually impressed. You mastered this ability way faster than that arrogant little brat Mito. The Kyuubi congratulated him. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Uzumaki Mito could do this too, she could. She used it on her husband, who was always getting into trouble. As much as I hate her, she was skilled with seals, far better than your so-called father or his weak sensei. She sealed me in a way that barely affected her while she had full access to my chakra and power. The Kyuubi's voice grew frustrated. Calm down, Kaiu-chan, she's dead remember, Naruto chuckled. Besides, while she's 6 feet under, you get to hang out with me, a sexy beast like myself causing chaos across the land. So in the end you won, he said, teasing her. Yeah, right. I still feel like I got the short end of the stick. The Kyuubi grumbled. Ha ha ha, you really know how to tug at my heartstrings, Kaiu-chan, but I get it, I know you love me. Naruto winked with a playful grin. Keep telling yourself that, mortal. She scoffed, though there was an unmistakable blush in her voice. See, you can't deny it. The more you resist, the more convincing it sounds. He grinned, clearly enjoying himself. Grrr, stop saying such ridiculous things. And for the last time, stop calling me Kyuuchan, she shouted in exasperation. Fufufu no can do, Kaiu-chan. Unless you tell me your real name, I'm sticking with it. Naruto smirked, much to her annoyance. He stopped suddenly, holding his stomach. Oh man, that was disgusting. He grimaced, his face paling as the memories of his clone's encounter with a hostile Kyusa genin flooded his mind. His clone, disguised as the Scroll of Heaven, had been intercepted by the Kyusa genin with the unnerving long tongue. The clone had been separated from Sasuke and Sakura by a powerful wind jutsu. The genin's sinister chakra radiated as she unleashed lethal intent, and Sasuke, trying to de-escalate, offered their scroll to the genin. That backfired as the Kyusa genin swallowed the scroll. Normally, Naruto might have been impressed by the ability, but the clone had decided to take action, using a self-destructive jutsu from within the genin's stomach. That meant Naruto now shared the knowledge of what it was like to be swallowed whole. The upside, no matter how powerful that genin was, the attack would leave her severely wounded. Huh, Caillou-chan, how did she swallow my clone? The transformation should have been an illusion, that shouldn't even be possible. He was puzzled. PFFT, took you this long to figure it out. Regular henge is just an illusion. But thanks to my influence, your transformation jutsu became solid. Foxes are tricksters, and they excel in illusions and transformations. My chakra in your system altered your henge, making it more real. That's why your Warok no jutsu works so well. You're literally transforming into a woman. The Kyuubi explained. Interesting, I guess I've been doing it so long I didn't think about it. The possibilities are endless. But I'll think on it later. Naruto mused, continuing his journey. You're not exactly in a rush to find your team. They might be in danger. The Kyuubi reminded him. As much as I dislike Sasuke and Sakura, I'm not heartless. My clone should be more than enough to handle things. Plus, the Kyusa genin was just trying to intimidate. No real desire to kill. The worst that could happen is Sasuke getting into some uncomfortable situations, but we'll deal with that later. Besides, I'm gonna see if I can grab the scroll we need. Naruto shrugged offhandedly. The Kyuubi sighed in exasperation at his attitude, toward his teammate's peril. Suddenly, Naruto's focus shifted as he heard a scream, filled with fear, echo through the forest. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the source, determined to help. After a short dash, he arrived at a clearing. He immediately spotted two bodies, clearly mauled by something. The fear in the air intensified as a massive bear loomed over a young girl. She appeared to be around his age, wearing the shinobi attire of the grass country. She had striking red hair and narrow, framed glasses, which caught Naruto's attention. He couldn't help but appreciate her beauty, though he quickly shook off the thoughts. This was no time for distractions. As the bear closed in on her, she closed her eyes in acceptance, expecting death. But then, to her shock, nothing happened. The bear actually started whimpering, backing off in submission. Standing there, calm and unshaken, was Naruto, dressed in his distinctive attire. A yukata with a blue spiral on the back, exuding confidence and a terrifying aura. His chakra was immense, soothing yet dangerous, radiating warmth, love, and an undercurrent of deadly intent. She couldn't help but be captivated, not only by his appearance but by the overwhelming presence he gave off. She had read many romance novels, but seeing this hero in action was different from anything she could have imagined. He was exactly like the knights in those stories, and she was hooked. Are you all right? Naruto's voice was gentle, and she found herself blushing as he offered his hand to help her up. I'm fine, thank you, she stammered. My name's Naruto, may I know yours? He asked. I'm Karin, thank you for saving me. She blushed deeply as she handed him her scroll of earth in gratitude. No problem, Karin-chan, I couldn't stand by and do nothing when someone like you needed help. Naruto grinned, making her blush even harder. Phew, thank you for the scroll, and for the lovely kiss, Karin-chan. I hope we cross paths again someday. He told her sincerely, with a hint of warmth in his words. Maybe, once he's finally moved on from Haku-chan, he'd consider pursuing something with her. After all, she was definitely his type. His clone quickly headed off towards the tower. As he observed her departure, he began walking towards his team's location. After a 20-minute walk, he paused. He could sense them nearby, so he created a shadow clone, transforming it into a sparrow. The clone flew off to find his reinforced clone and directed it to come to him. It only took about 5 minutes for his clone to arrive. Upon receiving the signal, the clone dispelled itself. He was immediately flooded with the memories from the past 3 days, viewing everything from the Aim-Nin encounter to the overwhelming gust of wind that sent him flying, the giant snake that swallowed him, which he had easily dispatched, and the unsettling Kyusa Yandere, who was revealed to be Orochimaru, the notorious S-rank rogue ninja from Konoha. Orochimaru had a disturbing fixation on Sasuke. After a brief scuffle, he extended his neck unnaturally and sank his fangs into Sasuke's neck, marking him with some kind of seal. Naruto shuddered, recalling Orochimaru's twisted comment about Sasuke. He wasn't sure how he would have stopped something like that, not with his strength. He wasn't foolish enough to take on Insanin directly. The seal, though, that piqued his interest. It appeared to be a cursed mark, a branch of Fuinjutsu he was eager to understand. He made a mental note to investigate the seal on Sasuke, curious if he could learn to reverse it. With the clone's memories integrated, he headed towards his team's makeshift camp. He knew Sasuke was unconscious, and Sakura was, as usual, almost useless in a fight. He reached the edge of the camp in 5 minutes and was greeted with a tense scene. Sakura was positioned defensively, holding a kunai. Her hair, once long, now barely reached her shoulders. Rock Lee was beside her, clutching his bleeding ear, evidently there to assist. Team 10 had also arrived, offering their help, while the rest of Lee's team watched from above. They all faced the lone Otagakure team, the same group that had caused trouble earlier in the exams. Naruto immediately recognized Lee's injury. It was identical to the one Kabuto had suffered after being hit by the strange device from the mummified Otonin. Naruto felt a wave of disbelief. In just under 10 minutes since his clone left to meet him, his team had managed to get into this much chaos. How was that even possible? Given the uncertainty of the other Konoha team's motives, he needed to make it clear they weren't easy prey. Yer, I leave you alone for a few minutes, Sakura-san, and you get yourself into trouble again. I'm honestly stunned, Naruto remarked with a tired smile, stepping out of the foliage. His calm expression drew the attention of everyone in the clearing. Sakura sighed in relief upon seeing him. Great, another one of these tree-hugging freaks. They just keep popping up like pests, sneered the Otagakure wearing the Happyuri-style headband. It doesn't matter, Zaku. If they get in our way, we'll wipe them out, said the mummified one. Ha, now you're speaking my language, Dasu, Zaku responded. I'm afraid I can't let you bully my teammates anymore. Would you mind leaving? Naruto asked, his tone as smooth as ever. We're here to kill the Uchiha. If you get in our way, you'll die too, Dasu threatened. Naruto simply sighed. Ha. People always resort to violence so quickly, he muttered. Just as Zaku prepared to attack, a strange, sinister energy swept across the clearing. While unsettling to most of the genin, Naruto immediately recognized it. It felt eerily similar to Orochimaru's chakra. His eyes shifted to where the sensation originated and saw Sasuke stumbling out from behind a tree, with dark, flame-like markings across the left side of his face. It was the curse mark, and it sent a shiver down everyone's spine. Sakura, who did this to you? Sasuke demanded, though his words were barely coherent. He started speaking about his vengeance, about surrendering his body to the devil. But Naruto tuned him out. He had no patience for melodrama. I did, Zaku shouted. Sasuke locked onto him and Dasu, sensing trouble, tried to warn Zaku, but it was too late. Zaku launched his wind-based attack, Zankyokukuha. A powerful vortex of wind erupted from his arms, causing destruction in its wake. Naruto considered intervening, but decided to let Sasuke handle it, curious to see how the curse mark would affect his actions. They exploded into pieces, Zaku boasted. Who did? Sasuke's voice came from behind him before he delivered a brutal punch, sending Zaku crashing toward his teammates. Zaku, Dasu cried. Zaku, coughing up blood, turned to face Sasuke, who had already formed hand seals. Katen Housenka no Jutsu. Sasuke unleashed 5 fireballs at the Otonin. Don't get cocky, I'll blow it away. Zaku shouted, using his wind technique to counter the flames, unaware that Sasuke had hidden shuriken within the fireballs. The shuriken struck him, and he was instantly pelted with them. Zaku, look out, Dasu warned, but it was too late. Sasuke was already in a crouch, swiftly behind Zaku, before grabbing his legs, forcing him down, and snapping his arms with a sickening crack. You seem proud of these arms, Sasuke sneered, enjoying the control he had over Zaku. The other Konoha genin watched in shock and disgust. Ino and Sakura looked horrified by Sasuke's sadistic actions. Before Sasuke could do any more damage, Naruto appeared behind him and knocked him out with a swift chop to the back of his neck, stopping the curse mark's influence. Yer. Honestly, sometimes I feel like a babysitter. You two seem to have a remarkable talent for getting yourselves into trouble, Naruto remarked, pinching the bridge of his nose. He turned to Dasu, his expression calm but dangerous. You've got 2 choices. 1, you leave your scroll, take your teammates and run. 2, I beat you within an inch of your life and take your scroll anyway. His words sent a chill through the clearing. Dasu, visibly shaken, tried to muster false confidence but was clearly unnerved. Before he could speak further, Naruto's overwhelming killing intent flooded the area. The Konoha genin felt pure fear as if they were about to meet their end. Most of them fell to their knees, struggling to keep control. The pressure lifted as suddenly as it appeared, and Naruto remained in his spot, still wearing that unnerving, placid smile. I'll ask again, Shinobi-kun. What will you do? He inquired calmly. The steel in his voice was unmistakable. Terrified, Dasu reached into his holster, dropped his scroll of heaven on the ground, and quickly gathered his teammates, retreating from the clearing without looking back. The silence lingered for a moment before Naruto turned to the other teams. Well, now that the drama's over, do you plan on fighting me for my team's scroll, or will you be on your way? He asked evenly. Team 10, eager to leave, backed away slowly, clearly not wanting to engage. They had seen enough to know they were no match for him. Team 9, simply there to retrieve their missing member, didn't care either way. Naruto made sure to thank Tenten for Lee's efforts in protecting his team. Once the area cleared, Naruto picked up Sasuke by the scruff of his neck, grabbed Sakura by the arm, and vanished in a swirl of wind, reappearing at the tower's entrance. After completing his impromptu sensory training, Naruto created 100 clones to scout the exam competition. One clone found the tower's location in case Naruto needed to use Shunshin. As they entered the tower, a stunned Sakura followed him. He read the inscription on the wall about heaven and earth, then unfurled both scrolls, tossing them forward. In a puff of smoke, Uruka appeared. Long time no see, Naruto. Congratulations to Team 7 for passing the second test of the chunin exams, Uruka praised. Thanks, Uruka-sensei. However, there's more to it. We need to speak with Hokage-sama. We have information he may find important, Naruto said with a rare serious tone. Seeing Sakura's fearful expression and Sasuke still unconscious, Uruka nodded and guided them to the Hokage. Trouble was certainly brewing.